Too.
Correct.
And
that's why I say that's the yes part.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having a mixed blessing.
But it's also a rejection of him. She did nothing. Vice presidents don't do much, in spite of what I listened to radio talk show hosts. Oh, as a vice president. No, Texas Jack Gardner was FDR's first vice president, and he quit. And somebody said the Texas Jack Gardner, and they said, "Well, Jack," and Jack said, "Well, being the vice president ain't worth a bucket of warm piss." And so
glad you can say that on the air.
Well, that's what I'm quoting Texas Jack, but
just saying.
No. The point of it is, what device? I mean, I'm finishing this book, 1960, about how the Kennedys viewed Lyndon Johnson. They won't even let him in the meetings. How about that Dan Quayle? I give you a list of vice presidents. And so,
and Dan Quayle was a little more conservative than Bush 41.
Oh, no, the point of it is, people have vice presidents for their.
Unless we forget, Dan Quayle went after a fictional character, and basically Hollywood won that fight ultimately with Bill Clinton.
No, I'm a big fan of Dan Quayle. I actually met him. He's a very nice man, but. That was it. They thought that because he was handsome, that young women would vote for Herbert Walker Bush because Dan Quayle was handsome. Well, that doesn't work that way. But
and Dan Quayle was more of a masculine patriarchy man. Maybe not too patriarchy, but I'm just saying that I didn't say he was a villain. I mean, I actually defended him. I defended him during the Murphy Brown game.
Yeah,
believe me.
No, he actually.
He wrote. What I'm saying is,
finish up. All right, go ahead.
What I'm saying is that Hollywood won that fight, with electing Bill Clinton. That's all I'm saying. Okay, go on.
Well, I was going to say is that Dan Quayle wrote a book, and he came on the tour, and he came into the studio. He was a delight. He was a great guy to talk to. He was very smart. He was.
I agree.
But they played him.
Yep.
And end of story. So, but.
And the funny thing is that Jessica Simpson becomes the real life Murphy Brown.
Absolutely. So give me a last comment. Did Donald Trump win, or did Vice President Harris lose?
I think Donald Trump won because, he doesn't give up. He keeps fighting. His supporters support him. And basically, Donald Trump says what middle America cannot say. And then I do want to say with Colorado, we're kind of seeing where the red parts are. I mean, don't get me wrong. We are a blue state, but only because of the Front Range, Denver, Fort Collins, Aspen, the skis resorts, and dare I say Gunnison, because that is a combination of a ski and college town.
Could be, but no matter what, Colorado remains, but principally Colorado remains blue because of the Colorado Republican Party.
That too. I mean, and Dave Williams and Dave Williams is not giving up his power, and people are getting tired of him. And the Republican Party is not as conservative as they are in other places. We've always been libertarian. Have a good one.
Take care. All right, we have a line open. It's a Saturday morning. Roads are rough. It's big snow came in on Peter Boyles. The election is now in the bag, and I think these numbers tell us a lot. But at the same time, there are all of these different things were taking place. I'm happy today to talk about my friends at Water Pros. Water Pros cares about the quality of your water, and we have this at the house. You can remove forever chemicals, microplastics, hard water, what the Water Pro guys ask for the Peter Boyles special for $3,195. What a great holiday gift to give to the whole family unit. You get a water softener, a point-of-use reverse osmosis drinking water system, and it's all fully installed. But let them do this. Start the process. It is a gimme, and there's no obligation. Go to waterpros.net, sign up for your free in-home consultation. They send a crew, they test your water, and legitimately show you the results. And maybe things are well. You don't know, but you want to know They come to your house and they test the water and they answer all your questions and all your concerns about your water. It's a big deal. I trust these guys, and they did a wonderful job. Water Pros is family-owned and veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you with the best in water treatment for less than the other guys. They're friends. Go to waterpros.net today, request your free water test, or just call them. Tell them you heard it on the radio show. 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554. What a great family gift-giving season. The Peter Boyles special today.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Somewhere back in my nostalgia trip, Saturday, November 9, 2024. It's all over but the shouting. 710 KNUS, and the weather says we might get to 37, but roads are nasty, a lot of snow out there. 27 tonight, 52 on Sunday, and 55 on Monday. We have full lines, 303-696-1971, and we're talking about what happened. Danny Kaplis' law firm, and Danny suggests you choose an attorney who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan's the son of a cop. We've been over Danny's life, and he's just a good friend, and he's a hell of a lawyer. He's dedicated the last 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt, serious motor vehicle crashes. He's believed to be the only attorney in Colorado history to win 5, you count them, multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict case in Colorado history. He's the man. Danny's law firm, official law firm now, the Nuggets and the Avs, and serious firm for serious cases. He is a good man. Dan accepts righteous injury cases, percentage fee basis. He can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplis.com. Danny spells his last name Caplis. Let's go to Jack on line 3. Jackie on the show, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
Morning, sir.
I wanted to ask you, why is District 8 between Gabe Evans and Cavero? Is that decided yet?
No, the best of my knowledge. I think because Adam just looked, she's got 48.2%. He's got 49%. So there's 8/10 of a point.
And he's actually on top.
Yes.
Why is it taking so long? Any ideas on that?
You know, I think, isn't there a law that if it gets to a certain percentage difference, it automatically kicks in a recount? But you know, sometimes you watch this stuff, and your point is really well taken. Where 4 years ago, how long it took for Georgia, how long it took for Pennsylvania, they changed the rules, they streamlined things, and there was no COVID involved. Remember, COVID was a big factor. So
yeah.
in 8 right now, looks like it's like 8/10 of a point.
Well, all right. Now I handed off. I mean, I spoke earlier with John, and I wanted to. I got it wrong, but I thought I was correct, but I guess he told a bunch of poker boys that he didn't buy the accusation that Donald Trump wanted to have Liz Cheney put in front of a fire squad.
Oh, I think he said it. One of the things I think I've learned.
What about you, though, Peter? You know that's false, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that what Trump does, and you're going to have to get real used to it, is it's ready, fire, aim. He says stuff, and
well, no, my point is this: what he said was not what they edited.
Oh no, I mean,
he did not ask her to be put in front of a fire.
No, you're right. One of the things that I thought you were taking it as on face value. One of the things that one of the biggest losers in what came down on Tuesday night was corporate media. The mainstream press took an enormous beating.
Yeah, big time.
And the rise of the alternative media, we mentioned Joe Rogan, all these different outlets, they really were successful. And so when the lessons that are going to be learned, there'll be fallout from this that'll go on now for months and months and months. The question will be, will the Democratic Party learn anything, and will corporate media learn anything?
Agree. All right, I'm going to leave with this. Who Trump chooses for his cabinet is going to be pretty much the deciding, where we're going to go.
Well, he's decided, we think Musk has a job. and we think that Robert Kennedy Jr. has a job.
Mhm.
One of the things about Robert Kennedy, who was I talking to about this? He is.
He's a mess.
Well, remember how old is he when his favorite Uncle Jack gets murdered? He's 6 or 7,
14.
six
Wow.
and then
63. Well, whatever.
and and then X amount of years later, his dad gets murdered, and I said conceivably
When his dad, yeah.
killed by the same people. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, and so.
Yes.
And then he goes through a divorce, and I think his ex-wife is a suicide. He marries another woman, and he's he's doing all of this stuff. And I read there was a piece in Vanity Fair about him, and he's a lost puppy, but he's also really brilliant. But he's also half nuts. But you could say that about Musk. You say it about Trump, and so no, seriously, so. But I think to myself, how long has this guy waited to get his hands on the reins? I mean, if you think it's his dad,
he'll never be president.
Well, never say never about anything, but he's.
Yeah, you're right.
But think it through. His uncle, then his dad. I think he lost a brother. He went through a goofy divorce. He went through a suicide. He went through all this kind of stuff. His other uncle kills the girl on the Mary Jo Kopechne. It's like this guy's loaded up inside with. I mean, he doesn't have to work a day the rest of his life, but internally, I would love to sit in a room and talk with him. I think of all of these people, Musk is pretty fascinating, but
he's on the spectrum though, like you too, right?
Well, I look at him. I read that lengthy book on Musk, and. He is, I think, possibly the smartest guy in this country today. I'm serious.
Wow.
But he's nuts.
Yeah.
And he'll fit.
Go figure. Hey, Peter, all my love to you.
All right, man.
No, I appreciate this conversation.
Thank you very much. Okay. We good to go? All right. Let's go here. We go to Marty on 1. Marty, you're on a radio show Saturday morning. Good morning and thank you.
Absolutely, Peter. Boy, rich content out there to really pull from kind of post-election. And it's breathtaking what he did to her that night. I want to take you, though, back to September the 10th, Peter, when the days after. Do you remember your sentiment regarding her performance, his performance, and the outcome of
the
November?
The debate?
Do you remember the debate sentiment?
Sure.
Yeah, sir.
Oh, sure. She won.
Well, isn't hindsight funny? Because in whose eye did she win? When you have a Republican, and it's so rare that they do what he did, popular vote and a slaughter on the electoral, you know that is actually to be commended far greater than any Democrat accomplishment. You know that. He worked against the DOJ, mainstream media, mainstream corporate America, and produced
but slow down. What happened that night is that she got him. I mean, you got to tell the truth. I mean, tell the truth and shame the devil, as my grandmother would say. No, he won. Or excuse me, she won that night, and he knew it.
Here's the thinking, though. But so I don't think that resonated, or at least it didn't have that longevity because the
no, wait a minute. Now that's different.
5,
that's different.
Well,
stop.
Winning a debate should translate, though, a little bit.
Yes and no. I mean, you know how? By the way, just FYI, do you know how many times? Yeah. Do you know how many times Lincoln debated Douglas?
No.
7. You know how many times JFK debated Richard Nixon?
No.
4.
No.
So what, it's I'm reading this history of debates, which shows you that's the only reason I know that.
Right.
But Lincoln Douglas, and Douglas was the winner. He was reelected, but it made Lincoln's name, which later leads to Lincoln's election. And the Kennedy Nixon thing went 4 times, and they at each other. And so it was one night, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. And I know that people want to transfer outcomes, but she beat him that night. She really did.
Well, and I guess that's sort of that just speaks then to the quality of candidate she was, because in the one debate, the one spotlight, and then she basically had a red carpet everywhere she went from that moment forward. More deception from mainstream media, of course, but to think that didn't seal the deal, that she still didn't have enough, and that we still couldn't get her over the hurdle. And Peter, I want to put this in your heart, because this is a true possibility. Joe Biden. Oh, and we're going to hopefully have time, and I'll be so respectful. Why she couldn't get the 81 million, the unprecedented, the number you'll never see again in the history of mankind.
Oh, sure you will.
Still voting.
Sure you will.
Oh, stop now. Oh, stop now. Because you never had a movement like Trump, and he's tapping out about 74, 75 million, Peter.
No.
And you saw the anomaly, the once in a lifetime 81 million for Joe Biden, who we haven't seen. But let's don't go there yet. I want your thinking here. Would Joe Biden, because he has been, I'm going to hire the first black this, I'm going to do the first minority
Sure.
this, the trans this. Do you think he would get himself in a position here in December? He has a chance to pardon his son and pardon his friends and hand the reins to her so that she actually does make the history books as a black female president. She is number 47. They throw a wrinkle in there. Am I crazy thinking think that's on the table with a man?
No, you're not. Listen, I've been seeing this, that there's an urgent call from that end of the Democratic Party for him to resign, for her to take the job for a month or a month and a half, whatever it is, and to be the first woman president. And to put it, and then you'd put an asterisk by her name. And, I don't think it would be legit, but it would, be what it's going to be. I think that they're going to try and they're going to put her in the rear view mirror as quickly as they can.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that criticism that Hillary Clinton was saying, and I think it kind of speaks, and this is my last point, Predator,
Sure.
Great show, great calls, everything.
Thank you.
Is you hear Hillary Clinton say, it was Joe Biden's fault he got out too late. And I would tell you this, I think it was opposite. I think Trump was surging in momentum. I think she was losing steam. I think she needed to capture a period of time right after that first debate, that September period, where she could have won at the polls. But you see, it was such a poor quality of candidate that it didn't even have 2 months of life in it. That's the shame. And I think that, come on now, we've never had, now you know election history, Peter, and I want you to do some revisiting as far as quality of losing candidate. I think she's got to rank down at the bottom.
Marty, there's never been a moment like this. Tell me a time where there was no primary, there was no party bosses, there was nothing, that she was proclaimed a candidate. She was proclaimed by a handful of people, probably the Bidens, certainly, the Obamas, the Clintons, a handful of power brokers. They proclaimed her. She never won primary. She didn't go to, the convention. The history of conventions is so wonderful in this country. She didn't make a convention. She was rubber stamped on the top of her head. You're the candidate. Trump went through it. He won primaries. Yep. And when he got to his convention, that was his convention. With her, it was like, they don't know who she is. She's an unknown quantity. She was no more ready to do that than I am. And she got, and she came out of the box, and the mainstream media loved her. And then incrementally, slowly but surely, but I think, I was writing down notes last night and the night before. I can speak for myself. People are sick of people changing the name of monuments. They're sick of going out and saying a boy can go out and play ball with your daughter and knock her on her can. Language control, education, inflation. I mentioned $20 to fill up the motorcycle. All of this stuff, tearing as a renaming and tearing down. And the foreign policy, I got $10 in a lunch that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have spoken on the phone no less than 3 times. I got a feeling that he's probably spoken to Netanyahu no less than 3 times. They got to end all of that. He's got to get the border. He's got to pump the oil. He's got an agenda ahead of him. And if he pulls it off, hang on. But she was there. And remember when she was on The View and they said, can you think of something that you differ from? No. Wait a minute.
She blew it. Right. And I'm talking about, that's the same kind of thing with that debate is he blew it. Well, she blew it basically once she had, she couldn't have any exposure. You could see what a delicate, maybe that's a better way to say
She
it,
didn't-
what a delicate candidate she was. Peter, last thought, though,
All right.
these Democrats still have 70 days because it feels too easy. He's got Congress, he's got the White House, the Senate, the whole bit is going in his direction. It feels too easy. These are Democrats. Do you anticipate they cause any fabricated destruction?
sure.
And of course, I'd love your thoughts to make sure that this does not, they hate this man. He was Hitler a week ago,
Oh, yeah.
and now he's going to come over with more power than ever. Peter, great show, great
Thanks,
stuff.
Bubba.
But I mean, I just feel like it's too easy, Pete.
Here we go. Thank you, sir. All right. Turnaround time. We have one line open Saturday morning. Peter Boyles, November the 9th. Now it's like the smoke is cleared. Now, what do you think? What do you say? And she's an interesting character in all of this. I'm talking about Vice President Harris. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles, Denver's talk station. Snow will be diminishing, but not right now. 27 degrees tonight, 52 on Sunday. Stay here.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Morning, everybody. One of those mornings in the city. It snowed Saturday, November 9th, 2024. Peter Boyles, 37 will be the high today. Snow diminishes and 27 tonight, 52 on Sunday, and lines are jammed. And Marcus, you're on the show, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
Man.
You know, I was happy that President Trump won, but he was on TV for 8 years till the election. He became part of the family.
Oh, the Apprentice show.
But,
yeah.
Well, not just that. Even when he left as a president, he was in the news all the time.
Oh, yeah.
On the radio all the time. So he became like part of the family. That uncle that you had.
That's interesting.
You know,
yeah.
Everybody's got an uncle like that.
They sure do.
They just never disappear.
No.
But the only thing I worry about is now that he hasn't taken office, Joe Biden's still got a lot of power. He can put some roadblocks in there.
One of the things that's interesting, you say that. Who do you think is president of the United States as we speak? I mean, legitimately, not just a figurehead, but somebody who's calling the shots.
I don't know. I know it's not him.
No, neither do I. You're right.
So he's still got those executive orders, and he could still change some legislation.
This has been asked too often, but would you pardon your own son?
I would. If I had the authority, even if it was wrong, I'd do it.
I would too.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you can, it's the going out the door presidents have a history of selling pardons, or giving them or selling them. That's your son. What do you do?
He has nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose if I had to do it. What's to lose?
How about if he pardoned Donald Trump? Joe Biden.
I don't see that happening.
How about the other way? Donald Trump pardons his son. He pardons Hunter.
I just don't see that. There's too much hate between those.
Well, I understand it, but what do you think it's going to be like on that day in January when they transfer power? Biden says he'll be there. Yeah.
I'm just going to watch. I'm waiting to see Trump's cabinet right now.
Yep.
How he's forming it. Who's he going to choose?
He's got Musk.
I just want to see how this really transition.
He says he's got Musk and he's got RFK Jr.
Yeah.
The first two.
That's amazing.
Oh, you couldn't get two more different people. I'm serious. I mean, I've read read more of the life of Musk, but if you think about Robert Kennedy Jr., this guy's carrying the load right now, and he's been wanting to do this for the longest time. And
well, I was amazed his family turned on him.
Oh yeah, but they're Democrats. I mean, they're like
I understand.
He broke the mold. But he's always been the rogue. He has been away from the family tradition. Remember who his dad was? His dad's Bobby Kennedy. His mother is Ethel Skakel Kennedy. And
I didn't know her last name.
His name was Skakel. And they were like this wild Irish family. And they have 8 children, I think. And and here's this kid growing up, and his favorite uncle gets murdered, and then his father gets murdered, and then all the craziness through his divorces and all this stuff. And here he is now. And here's this rogue president, this one-of-a-kind president that hands him the reins.
Peter, back then, those Democrats are more like a Republican these days. They're a total breed difference from what we got now.
I try to make a case. If Jack Kennedy were alive today, the Democratic Party would want nothing to do with him. And tragically, I think if Ronald Reagan showed back up again, or Dwight Eisenhower, I'm not sure the Republicans would want anything to do with those two men either.
Yeah.
So, but that's the hands of time. But come back, and of all the people, and I don't know why, it's just maybe because I'm drawn to this. Of all the people that are coming in the front door right now, RFK Jr. I'm telling you, that guy is, just think of his emotional past and how his own family rejects him. Think where he is right now. I mean, he is locked and cocked. He really is. He wants, and I think Musk is just probably, maybe if not the smartest man in America today. He really is.
Yeah, and the most powerful, the richest man in the world. This is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe Trump's ticket.
But I see, that's just it. It speaks volumes about Trump. Trump realigns it. He's not looking for this guy that said, well, he was one time United States ambassador to the UN, so let's make him, I don't know, Secretary of State or something. Yeah. No, he goes and gets Musk. That Musk book will take it. It'll take you 2 weeks to read it, but it's just one crazy ass thing that he does after the next. And the thing is, he's right. I mean, he flies into the face of everybody. He fires people on the spot. There's a part of the book where he figures out he's betting against Wall Street and making the cars. And he comes in, he just moves in, he lives in this big factory, lives there by himself in the factory. Yeah. And he goes down and he finds this electronic robotic arm, and it's supposed to do this job, and he times it. A man could do that better than him. So he has him cut a hole in the wall. Then he throws the robot out in the street, and he brings guys in. But then he calls for. He said, "Bring me the guy that made this." And this young guy's, but he's an MIT guy or something. He's been waiting for 5 years to meet Musk. He comes up. He thinks he's going to get a reception. Musk fires him, and a week later fires his boss. He doesn't care. I mean, I'm here to get the job done. And they said, "What? You don't care about people?" He said, "No, I'm going to go to Mars." I mean, those were quotes from Musk. Hang on.
Know that.
Oh man, Musk's father and his brother. He has he got 12 kids and 4 wives, and he's rocking in the free world.
He was from South Africa.
Oh, they were born in South Africa. Yeah, I got to go. Yeah. His dad's name was Errol. Read about him. All right, everybody. We're going to do the turnaround. One's in the bag. It is 9:58, almost 10 o'clock, 7:10. KNUS Denver Stock Station. Saturday morning at Peter Boyles, and it's cold outside. And good morning again, everybody. Saturday, November 9th, 2024. And the roads are rough and the big snowstorm is here and it's melting off, says the 710 KNUS Weather Center. Says tomorrow will be 52 degrees. The melting will begin and it's mild and dry on Monday. Well, what a difference a week makes. The election is over, the smoke is clearing, and Donald Trump is president-elect. And it is interesting reading and looking at all the different things, particularly listening to a little bit of radio this week and watching some TV. But one of the things that struck me, and I want to do this just for a second to try and put some perspective on it. I'm not very good at mathematics, but I kind of love statistics and do some reading. So I was listening to some people and I thought, no, I don't think that's quite true. So just do the time machine thing with me really quick. In 2020, Joe Biden received 306 electoral votes. He received 81 million and change. Here in Colorado, he received 1,800,000 and change. Donald Trump in 2020 received 232 electorals, 74 million. Remember that number, 74 million and change. And 1,364,000 and change in voting. Jump ahead to 24. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road. Vice President Harris received 226 electorals. But here's the real, Joe got 81, she got 70 million. She's done almost 12 million. But here in this is the payoff. Donald Trump in 2020 received 74 million. Donald Trump in 24 received 74 million. In 20, Donald Trump received 74 million to 23,975. Donald Trump in 2024 received 74 million to 64,469. That's popular vote. It's really interesting. Here in Colorado, last time in 20, see, I can't do numbers. Donald Trump received 1,364,000 and change votes in Colorado. 24, Donald Trump received 1,245,000 less votes. In other words, Donald Trump received less votes in the state of Colorado in 24 than he did in 20. At the same time, Harris received almost 12 million less votes than Joe Biden. And at the same time, Donald Trump in the United States of America received almost identical numbers in the popular vote. He received 74,223,975. This year, 24, Donald Trump received 74 million, same lead number, 264, pretty close, 469. So, was it something that instead of people rushing out to embrace Donald Trump, that they just rejected Vice President Harris? And then if that is the case, where was her help? What happened and what went on? A lot of people were texting about the book I mentioned, and Walter Isaacson, who I've met twice, he did a remarkable book on Steve Jobs, and he did the Musk book. And if you want to read about Musk, boy, the Isaacson book is the best, and it's his biography of Elon Musk. It's really a thick book. It's a week and a half read, but it's everything you expect about Musk. And I think that he is the variable that really did help Donald Trump. And now watch out. We were talking about Bobby Kennedy coming in too. And so watch what happens next. All right, so we go to Don. Don, you waited the longest. You're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
Hi.
So I guess question.
Are you on a speakerphone?
No, but I'm in an echo chamber.
Okay.
So let me step out of it.
Try and get away.
Let me step out of it.
Okay.
I got a little bit of reverb going on. Give me about 15 seconds.
Sure. Take your time.
You been good?
Not about the same. Can you get a little better?
Okay, better?
Well, we'll take it. Go ahead.
Better? I'm getting better?
Now we're all right. Go ahead. Shoot.
All right, good. So, personally, I feel that Trump won, but he had to change the old way of doing things. And I think it started when Musk bought Twitter.
Interesting.
Levy and
Right.
Schnellenberger did the Twitter files
Right.
and started exposing people, especially the youth. A lot of people used to follow Twitter when Musk bought it. They wiped their hands of it.
You know it.
And then he had some great advice, probably including from his son. Reach out to people in podcasts and this total canvassing
You bet.
of all the areas when he went to Brooklyn,
Yep.
when he went to Coachella. He showed people that he cared. He didn't care. You know, they say, "Oh, why are you going there? You can't." Well, a whole different ball game now. And I think this is going to be the demise of the Democratic Party as we have known it and watched
But
it.
you
turn
know,
into what it's
I'll
turned
tell you
into.
something. I have heard that said about both sides of the aisle for so many times. That's the end of them. And
Well, it's the end of the Republicans because we have a party now. It's called MAGA.
well, but they morph. Parties morph.
Where's the Democrats morph into? Wokeness?
Well, no.
DEI?
Again, I think if you read, and I'm trapped in this book that I just can't put down. It's entitled 1960, and it's a lengthy book, and it's about Kennedy and Nixon. But the Democratic Party, when they choose Lyndon Johnson, they literally will not let Lyndon Johnson come north of the Mason-Dixon line to campaign because he is known as a racist. He's known as this power broker from Texas. They need him to get votes in Texas, but they don't want him to campaign. Remember, the Democrats were known as the Dixiecrats. They were the beginning of the Klan was in the Democratic Party, and they found themselves. One of the things that I thought was interesting was Senator Bernie Sanders says, "You guys lost your way. You know, you're supposed to be, the party, like my dad said, the party of the working man was Harry Truman's Democrats, Jack Kennedy's Democrats. That's gone. Would you not agree?"
But look who voted for Harris.
That's right.
And look who voted the demos who voted for Trump.
Sure, I agree.
He did. This is something that was so unexpected by those people because they couldn't figure out.
Well, but it happened.
It's pretty simple. It's the economy, stupid, but it's everything else. The shaming.
I wrote it down.
Bringing out the rock stars. All these people, and people go, "Well, that isn't doing anything when I go to King Soopers or pull up to the gas pump." Screw them people.
Sure, but also,
they're nothing.
I also wrote down there was I think a litany of things, and as weird as this sounds, changing the name of military bases, tearing down monuments, renaming mountains, boys playing as girls, language control, education, inflation. I know this is meaningless, but to me, it's
quite meaningful to people like you and me.
When it costs $20 to fill up a motorcycle, it's time. It's time. And
where do you think this started, Pete?
Where did it start? I think
I'll tell you my thoughts.
Right.
Barack Hussein Obama.
No, way before that.
He caused the big in-your-face divisiveness. Remember when he was running? I want you to go over and I want you to get up in your neighbor's face and tell them about hope and change. I'm going, I hope somebody comes up and gets in my face. Just like Bernie Mac said, black people hope somebody's sitting in their seat when they come in.
But what it looks like the traditional Democratic voting bloc, and they lost it with Hillary. And again, I come back to that book, Shattered, that I think is so important to read. That how
did they get it with Biden?
Well, the same thing happened. But remember, but Biden is different than Hillary. Biden portrays himself. Hillary's Hillary. People just didn't like her. I mean, that was the truth. The truth was she turned people away. And people
Biden had the same voting bloc.
But Biden was the old-time Democratic Paul. Remember, he was there for 50 years, for God's sake. He's the old-time Paul. But what's important is he was the bridesmaid so many times in the power. Remember, he was the vice president for Barack Obama. And when it came time for his turn, they screwed him. And what did they do? They put in Hillary. And so
when it came time for Hillary, they put in Obama.
That's right.
That's their game. It's not the person. So
do you think
next in line?
Well, she wasn't next in line. He was next in line.
She thought she was.
No. They treated him like the redheaded stepson. They pushed him aside. And you know that
I'm talking Obama. Hillary thought that she was
no.
And they shuffled Obama.
Obama took her to school, but what was Joe's turn? And then was screw you, Joe. And so, do you think? And it's been kicked around, but do you think that that night when the votes came in, that the Bidens, Dr. Joe and Joe, remember Dr. Joe walks out in a red dress, man. That's the party, Republican Party. That's their.
I think
color.
They did a little jig.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'll tell you what.
I think they found the good stuff, tossed one down, and did a little jig, and said, "Honey, ain't it great?"
Oh. I mean, this is going to be taken apart but I think people, it really goes back into, nothing happens overnight, and it certainly isn't one president that makes it happen, but it's a series of events. And when those I
like the diversity, Pete. I like the fact that we might have broken down some of the racial wall because, it's like, why are you people telling black people we're going to raise your minimum wage? Why don't you tell us what can be my maximum wage?
Yeah, but then again,
they've been on this minimum wage crap forever. They got to quit insulting the black population in this country and the Hispanic population.
But that's
they can't keep doing this. People are too smart.
That goes back to, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society and before.
God.
And so
that rotten SOB,
I agree with you about those people, but the Great Society. Remember, there's a New Frontier, then the Great Society. Seemingly they needed to have a theme, and Lyndon Johnson's
great giveaway.
Oh, someday,
as long as you don't have a father living, we'll give you plenty of food stamps.
Sure. But
have a couple more kids.
Well, no, sure. Listen, it was everything that. Johnson is portrayed now as the sad Texan. He's anything but.
He's rotten to the core. He was a murderer. He was so dirty. Him and Baker. Remember Bobby Baker?
Bobby Baker. Woo! You know your stuff.
Going back, aren't we?
Oh, remember they were moving the oil around, and they'd go view it over here, and then he'd pump it over there. Well, look at this, and they got oil. Bobby Baker.
Who was that sheriff that was doing his snuff jobs? God, who was that guy? He had a sheriff down in one of them counties, Platte County or something like that.
Well, the one guy, there's two different guys that I remember. One is a guy named George Parr. And George Parr, there's a county called Duval County, Texas. And they called him the Duke of Duval County. he was in Carnot's book. And when he became Landslide Lyndon, and it was they found the votes. And it was, as someone once said, it was 137 dead Hispanics voting in alphabetical order.
They were finding votes back then too.
They found them, they found him on Lyndon Johnson, and that's when he became Landslide Lyndon.
Who elected Kennedy, Pete?
Huh?
Who elected Kennedy?
Kennedy. There was a combination of things. The mob.
Who put him over the top?
The mob.
Chicago.
No, the mob. The first times.
But without Illinois, he wouldn't have won.
No, it's important to know that they get to West Virginia. I'm just so enamored by this. He's the Catholic. His opponent is not Lyndon Johnson. It's Hubert Humphrey. They get to the primary in West Virginia, and West Virginia is this really hardcore Baptist, Protestant. The Catholics are the devil. So they had to win. So Sam Giancana and Joseph P. Kennedy, the middleman, Sinatra, but a bunch of different people. And they take all the money, a lot of it's Joe, some of it's mob money, and they pay off crooked sheriffs, the dirty unions, everything that they can. And Jack Kennedy wins the primary in West Virginia, proving that a Roman Catholic can win in a Protestant state. Doesn't sound like much now, but it was a big deal then. Hubert Humphrey dumped the hump. Hubert Humphrey was never the same. And Jack Kennedy went all the way to LA and captured the nomination, because remember, they only had 16 states had primaries. The rest of that stuff was done by the old party bosses, the cigar-filled rooms. Jack Kennedy gets it on the first ticket, but he's got his nasty brother Bobby, and but it's West Virginia, and then when it comes time for Cook County, and Dick Daley, another Irish Catholic, and Dick Daley and Joe Kennedy's friends with all of these guys, and no, I'm serious.
They were making Joe Kennedy rich.
Well, Joe was making them rich, and they were getting rich together. How's that?
Yeah,
I'm
good with that. But
listen, they told me I got to cut them out. Thank you, man, very much. Very good stuff. All right, 710 KNUS Denver's Talk Station, 9 November, and it's all over but the shouting. David Ellis, Cherry Creek. I saw David yesterday about taking your valuables to the man, and Christmas giving is coming up. Fortune in cash, and secure an appraisal from David for all the valuables you have tucked away in your home. That's still true. Share the other reason to see David, just in case you don't have a Rolex, rare coins, or silver tea set. See David for the most meaningful gift-giving occasions. David's Jewelers, just the right items, just the right prices, special people that mean the most. Antique watches, emerald pendants, gold necklaces, diamond rings. Trusted Jewelers, been buying precious metals and antiques in Colorado for decades, has dazzling cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces your loved ones will treasure. Visit David Ellis and see for yourself. The black awning on the corner, he's there now, 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. Get ready for the holidays. Explore DavidEllisJewelry.com. Call my friend David Ellis at 303-322-8779, 303-322-8779. Right on the corner, 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek, has a black awning on the building. We have jam lines. We have a Saturday morning. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Radio Free Denver, good old 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Dwight Yoakam. Love this guy. Guitars, Cadillacs, and he knocked off a lot of Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. And they had that sound that, Merle Haggard has that sound. All right, everybody. It is a Saturday, November the 9th, 2024. This is when Bob Dylan says you don't need to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. And that's where they picked up the weathermen from the 60s. But tomorrow, melting begins, 52 and 55 on Monday. Lines are jammed. We're talking about now what? So let's go back to the phones. Who do you like? Oh, line one. Hey, Mark. Thanks, man. You're on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, great show so far here.
Thanks.
And what a shock, huh? What a difference a week makes. Like I said a couple weeks ago, it's food and safety. The human condition will always go back to that every time. And here it is again. We've seen it in our lifetime. You're older than I am, but I wrote a note down here. A couple thoughts came to mind. Who lost? You're kind of teasing this out of your audience today. I wrote down George Soros Open Society lost, MSM lost, Obama, Hillary, DEI. And, it's just a credit to the American people. The heart of the country was literally saved. I do credit, I think, the equalizer, which you've been talking about a lot this morning. I don't think we can give that guy enough credit for what he had to put on the line.
About Musk?
X. Talking about X.
Yeah, it's Musk, yeah.
And, you can come home and watch. There's no longer can you put on something and just throw it out there like MSN Joe, Morning Joe was doing, or any of these nitwits. And the people buy it. The great equalizer was X, because in about 10 minutes, you can have all the facts put on by what I call Freedom X reporters. And if game, set, match, people can get their own facts. They can use AI quicker than anybody. And when you come home at 5, we used to sound on much Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, sure.
Those days are over. It's even more so now. It's over in 10 minutes.
Less than.
Agreed.
No, I mean, everything that I need to know is on my phone. It's terrible.
It is.
It is. I mean, what do I need? I know there's always a big hoot with Kyle Clark, but he doesn't. I mean, there's nothing. There's nobody home.
No.
I mean,
they're not reporters.
Well, but they have become advocates.
Yes.
And that moment you mentioned Uncle Walter, but the moment that Walter Cronkite stood up, and that's a legendary part of American broadcast history. And Lyndon Johnson, who had 3 television sets in his in the Oval Office, so he wouldn't have to change channels. And so when Walter Cronkite stood up and pointed to the map of Vietnam, Johnson said, "I've lost America," because they knew the strength of Walter Cronkite. And who is like that now? There's nobody really like that. And
no, it's multi-source, to your point. And if you look at one demographic that stood out there, everybody's worried about Gen Z. The game is over. You see the nervousness, paranoia, and anxiety, and it is hard to flip channels and watch some people. I do it for a reason, to see what the reaction is. But they're scared to death.
There was a radio slaughter of personnel this week. iHeartMedia fired or laid off 10,000 employees. And one of them was Alfred Williams over at KOA. And a lot more I understand there's more to come. So we're on diminished returns to scale, as the economists would say. And the biggest hits were taken by what they call, corporate media. When you're wrong, you're wrong. And
they were wrong.
Oh, wrong. They were like, they couldn't have been more. And then instead of saying I was wrong, they were like, remember when the Fonz would go, I was roo, roo, roo. Remember the Fonz could never say he was wrong. And, and they can't say it. And so do you think that the Democratic Party bosses are sitting around a round table someplace saying, how do we make this right?
I think they're very confused. I don't think we have an answer yet.
That's right.
To be determined. You had a mass exodus of the Democrats before this. They're just not realizing you had the uber elite power control by just a few. And like I said, I think the era of Obama and Hillary, they're done and they're out here. And the game they use to control the media, they use the stars, all that. I mean, you look at Harris, who went through $1 billion. In fact, went in the whole $20 million. We knew that 2 days ago. Fox just reported it last night, which is amazing. There's answers there. They are super upset with her and what she blew it on. I mean, she spent $100,000 to redo a hotel room to make it look like a set for the interview. I mean, it's horrible.
That's one of the.
But here's where I'm headed. If you're going to in the future, let's talk about the future here, and the gal that Trump's putting in the office there. I forget her name, but I call her the Ice Maiden.
Yes,
is cold and calculated.
Yes.
Give her credit.
What's her name?
Lara Trump. Give her credit.
Yeah.
But when you look at they get credit for showing up the elections, I do believe. Secondly, if you look at the putting Trump on podcasts, which was done by Dana White, he said, "Hey, you got to get on here. You got to get on Rogan and these other guys." Age 40 and under, Gen Z capture the vote because they want to know the why question. And when you sit down 2 or 3 hours, that is the new standard. If you're going to run for office in the big leagues, you're going to have to be vetted through that, or the 40 and under crowd is not going to vote for you. That came out of giant stuff.
And that's the Musk part of this too.
Yes.
I think significantly Musk plays a major role. And I remember then, when they played Musk down and you have to literally say, having waded through Isaacson's book on Musk, but you start to realize, I think, and I was talking to some friends about this guy might be the smartest guy in America today. Truly.
I think you're right.
And he's ruthless, and he also has seemingly no compassion for another human being on the face of the earth. And
I think it's this. If you read some of the Koch brothers books, I'm not an all fan, but I'm in the energy business, but there's takeaways from there that if somebody is signaling in your firm, think about your years in radio where there's just dead wood or any union or anything like that. It's a hard thing to kill emotion, but you're really doing. I fired people making 6 figures on my watch, and it's a hard thing to sit there and say, I'm doing them a favor. They are sending me a market signal that they don't want to be there. My job is to speed it up and help them with that. I'm doing them a favor, and so I think that's what Musk does. I look at it differently. That some of them are telling them that they don't want to be there because you have an expected culture and expected work ethic. If they don't want to do that, you're giving me a market signal that you frankly don't want to be here. Why should we move on with this? And let's cut the dead wood and do you a favor and move on, and so I can be more efficient.
But that isn't how Musk feels and looks. I mentioned that this, and there's all these, it's a series of vignettes, but they really are legitimately tied together, and talk about Isaacson's book. And this moment where somehow Musk is betting against Wall Street and the manufacturer of the cars, the Teslas. And he is just this amazing character. So he moves into the factory, literally moves into it and won't leave. And he goes from site to site to site to site, looking for some place to cut. And he comes to this one moment I was talking about in the last hour, where it's robotics, and they're doing something to the cars. And he realizes that it can be done easier by humans. So he wants to know who programs it. And this kid comes over who's an MIT graduate, and he's been waiting 3 years to meet Musk. Musk treats him like a dog, fires him. Then he fires his boss. He cuts a giant hole in the wall, throws all these robotics that are so expensive into the parking lot. No, I'm serious. I mean, and then he brings in a team of human beings, and he beats Wall Street at their own game. And
that's when they're about ready to cut him in half. And
that's right.
They said they wouldn't hit a car target.
That's
He's out
right.
there in white tents in a parking lot, putting them together.
But he did it. He won. When he brought the rockets back, and they were firing off in someplace in the South Pacific. And his board said, no more, no more. And there was the great, you could receive, I forget, it was an unbelievable number from NASA to be the first, private firm that can go and come back and land it. And they blow two of them, and they blow it at this amazing amount of money. And
that was Boeing, by the way.
Yeah. And so Musk said, and I think they went to Vandenberg, and he brought everything to Vandenberg, and it was close to the holidays, and sure as hell, he lands it.
Well, he did it for one half the cost of what Boeing did. And
exactly.
He did it better. And that's, he's getting ready to rescue those poor people in space. So with that backdrop, let's fast forward. He is, at least all my reading is, that he is going to be the one to go in there, and he says he can cut beginning at $2 trillion.
Oh, yeah.
With what you just said, Peter, he fired 90% of the employees.
Yes.
At X, and it's running better than it ever has been running.
Yes.
Though it may still be in the red, it's nudging towards the black. His stock, he's worth like $365 billion now, by the way, for everybody that got down on Elon Musk. So what is he going to be able to do to the government? Think of the fat on the bone in the government. Really what he's wanting to do is transfer dollars back from the federal level back to individual states and individuals in your house. And I support that 100%.
You imagine him and RFK Jr.
Oh, geez.
I mean, I'm fascinated by RFK Jr. I mean, he's got such a Jones on the government, on the power, on his own family. And he's got that voice, and I'm thinking, watch out for this guy, because I don't know what he's going to do. It's Health and Human Services. I don't know. They're going to create something for Musk. I don't even know.
The machine is in total upheaval, and I can't remember. I mean, you tell me, Peter. Look back through history here. What they're calling the Avengers here. This kind of a dream team. Mm-hmm. Is a formidable threat for the first time I can remember since Reagan. I'm a big Reagan guy too. Yeah. I don't know of any dream team that's come in like this that they don't fit a square or round hole.
And Reagan brought in the traditional office holders and bureaucrats. These guys aren't. I mean, Musk has never held an office in his life. He's built.
And he doesn't care.
He doesn't. He's built SpaceX and he's built Tesla, but he said, and Isaacson followed him around for over a year, and Isaacson was allowed to confront him, and he said, "You don't care about anybody." And he said, I want to put people on Mars. I don't care about these people.
And well, you're running a business and a firm. You're not running a charity, and so you have to. Your obligation is your shareholders, and so that seems cold.
Those kids,
but your entity doesn't exist unless you run it that way.
Those kids don't talk to them. It's like
their family's interesting. That's for sure. I agree.
The best story of all the stories that were in that book. His father's name is Errol Musk, and he takes Elon and he takes his brother, and they have like these gladiator academies, and he gets beat up. He gets beat up in the book, in the beginning of the book, and some bullies knock him down the stairs, if I remember that correctly, and they kick him in the face. And so the old man sends him off. It's like Lord of the Flies, and they all come back, but his mother's real beauteous. She's been a model, and Errol's a handsome guy. So in one of Errol's many marriages, he marries a woman that has a daughter, has like an 8-year-old daughter. So the Musks don't talk to each other. They go all over the world. And they're really captains of industry, but so they decide they're going to have a reunion in South Africa in this restaurant, and they're all going to get together, and it's going to be kumbaya, and everything's going to be fine. So they go, and in the door comes Errol with the little girl that he adopted, or something. She's pregnant with his kid. They go bat crap. They're going, it's a big open brawl in the restaurant. But when Errol gets her, when he adopts her or whatever he does, she's like 12. Now jump ahead like 6 years, 7 years. She's pregnant with his kid. and Errol's dumped her mother, and he's oh, can you imagine? I mean, what kind of great genetics?
Talk about awkward Thanksgiving with everybody.
Oh,
hey, I got switching gears a little bit. I cannot get my head around. And we had all the discussions of 2020 and whether someone believes the elections were tampered with or not. But the metric that now jumps off the page, though, and I am looking, and I'll talk with friends, 15 million votes difference.
Yep.
That's on a chart that jumps out. Where
didn't show up.
There was, so either I go to schools. There was only two possibilities. One, there was a rampant fraud for 15 million votes, or 15 million people stayed home. But here's the other input. Why were the lines 3, 4, 6 hours? They appeared to me to be longer than was during 2020. So I can't get my head around where 15 million votes.
Yeah, remember 20 was the COVID vote, and it was the mail-in. And Trump has really almost identical scores. In 2020, he got 74,223,000. In 24, he got 74,264,000. The real big drop is her. They didn't turn out for her. The deficit is almost 12 million less votes, and people didn't want her. And
so how does Trump? And again, I'm picking your brain, and I'm not saying you know the answer. We're talking here, two guys on the radio here, but how? So if there's 15 million drop in votes, it's just ironic to me. How could Trump's number be the same? Why wouldn't there be like 80 million for him? Because and you'd be a correlation drop on the other side. That's the baffling part.
No, I don't think it's baffling. I think it speaks volumes. They collectively, the voting public, did not want her, just like they didn't want Hillary. And Donald Trump's base numbers of 74 million plus stay almost identical, except now they equate to 301 electorals. Before they were 232. The big change is on the Democrats. And by the way, in Colorado, Donald Trump received less votes. In 20, Donald Trump received 1,364,607. In 24, Donald Trump received 1,245,879. So he actually got less votes in the state of Colorado than he did in 20. The real big, the big hurt that came is her. This was it's like if you read the Soviet Union, how they vote. I was trying to explain this. When back in the days of the commissars, and they would have, it doesn't matter, the hydroelectric dam, and they had Ivan. Ivan was the party boss, and so it's time to vote. Nobody voted, and that's why when the Politburo then knew Ivan's the wrong guy, they voted in the Soviet Union. But it was if less people voted, then party bosses knew that wasn't the guy that the people wanted, and then they'd change him. So it's kind of like this Soviet thing where glorious people voted 81 million times for Biden. Glorious people only voted 70,000 for Harris.
It's a staggering drop, though. I mean, that is.
They didn't want her.
When I look at charts, and I look at a lot of charts for a living and so forth, that is what we call in my business an outlier, no doubt about it. And it's like, okay, so we'll be looking for 2028 to see what happens there. Do we gain back 10 of the 15? But man, that's
a huge loss.
That just jumps out. It's hard for me to believe 15 million stayed home. It really is.
Well, riddle me this. Did Donald Trump win, or did Vice President Harris lose?
I think I have to agree 3 for 3 with your callers. It's both. I think he outgunned her. The strategy was better.
Yep.
They tried traditional way of going with Harris. Harris is a horrible candidate from the word go. She's a coup candidate, as we know. She couldn't articulate any conversation whatsoever.
Nope.
And I think Trump has been better, although he gets in trouble as we talk. But I think he has been better about articulating what he's wanting to do. It just gets old with him pounding away on people sometimes. But I voted for him.
It's Musk. I'm telling you, it's Musk. It's like
I agree with you. I agree.
Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk it's a don't miss book. They are crazy. They're nuts, but they're brilliant.
The power we have now is a voting public, and you can pay $8 a month or pay nothing. Just depends what you want to get access to on X. But the entire information and news has been put what I called in the Freedom X press out here, because everybody sitting in their home on their phone can be a reporter now.
Yep.
And you can get a pretty good picture of what a reality is in short order. So the whole machine's breaking down here, and it's all been transferred there.
Yep. Great call. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see what time it is. It's 10:46. It's 14 minutes before the hour. Great open lines, been packed all morning. Our friends at Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and operated. Steve and Michelle, I love the restaurants. It's home-style cooking worth going out for. If you're a meatloaf guy, this is it. 8 locations. If you're a pot roast guy, this is it. 8 locations. There's one near you. The last time you took the family to the Black Eyed Pea. Thanksgiving's rolling. Specials. They got senior discounts. Be sure to check out the new menu items, stuffed spuds. 8 different delicious baked potatoes. Just a few. The chopped steak spud, sweet pork spud. Here's mine, the meatloaf stuffed spud. Broccoli cheese. There's so much more. Everybody in your party, sure to find a favorite. These are wonderful folks that know what they're doing. Make your dinner party, your rehearsal dinner, your wedding reception, your company event a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. No matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. So whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, holiday presents, they got you covered. I love everything about these restaurants. I know you will as well. Keep it in Colorado and visit our friends at the Black Eyed Pea near you.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
And now it's cold outside. It's Saturday morning, November 9, 2024. Start to melt. Melt starts tomorrow and goes Monday, Tuesday. Donald Trump wins. And boy, oh boy, what is next? Don't you believe, I believe it, that how many times Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have already spoken on the phone? You know, he's spoken to Netanyahu and everybody that is surrounding this right now. We go back to the phones. Lines are jammed. We go to Jay in Castle Rock. We got about 7 minutes. Jay, you're on the show.
Thank you. Hey, was that Fog Hat that you just played?
I think so, yes.
You're just a well-seasoned DJ. I love Fog Hat.
It's all Adam. It's not me on this one. Yes.
Whatever. Wonderful. Real quick, I'm watching the live update from Arizona. I've got a lot of friends in Arizona. And Trump is 1.5 million votes, and Kamala Harris is 1.3 million, and AP still will not call it. Wow.
No, it's to be expected. If there is, I don't know how many casualties of this there are yet, but one of them is certainly corporate media.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. Hey, when you were a kid, you mentioned your father. I know you call him the old man, and I get that. Did you used to listen to Paul Harvey and
my grandma did
on AM radio? Oh,
my grandma did, and when I got into the business, Paul Harvey was kind of on tailing out. I mean, his form of radio was coming to an end, but we had Paul Harvey on a station I worked at. He always did Good Day. You know, he always had stories and. But he was he's one of the syndicated guys when syndication was in a different form than it is now. And he tore him apart. He did really well.
He really did. The other thing is the callers this morning, brilliant
Oh,
points.
it's funny stuff.
I mean, just unbelievable. The second is you're talking about Musk. Well, on Santa Fe and Littleton Boulevard, ironically enough, about 600 yards south of the Danny Dietz Memorial, which I know you know that,
sure.
Mr. Dietz, and all of that wonderful warriors that have been killed, and Danny gave his life, is one of those SpaceX rockets. It's right behind EchoStar. It's right on the Platte River. The booster is there. I'll meet you there. It's unbelievable.
I got to go see that. I got to see that.
I'll meet you. Yeah, and it's there. It has the burn marks on it and all that. So this is just a quick little joke because I know everybody's been having so much factual information being distributed. Elon Musk is, of course, the SpaceX guy, and he wants to go to Mars, and I get that. And I have candidates for astronauts. The first one is John Brennan, who is the head of the snake. Okay? And I actually had to figure out how to type. I've never written the word traitor, but I had to, and my PDA told me how to spell traitor. I did not know that. I've never written that word. Jim Comey is the next guy, ex-FBI, astronaut number 2. That's the co-pilot. And then the navigator, again, going back to, the Apollo 11, is none other than Alexandria Mayorkas, the impeached Homeland Secretary. So those 3 can go ahead and head up to Mars and check it out and protect democracy there and do whatever they do because they sure have handed it to us.
But, the FBI has been corrupt, and I'm not talking about the rank and file street soldiers. I'm talking about Hoover and and the CIA has been more than corrupt. And so suddenly, the light goes on, and the things that are being said by the Trump supporters were being said in the 60s by the radicals.
That's right.
I mean, they're saying it's the FBI, it's the CIA, and in fact, they were that way then, and the conservative elements of the Republican Party supported them without realizing. I mean, I'm sure they realized what Hoover was up to and what the Dulles brothers were up to, and I mean and now all of a sudden they all wake up. Oh, the CIA is corrupt, or at least it's it's a horrible institution. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
George the Senior was head of the department that when John F. Kennedy was killed. He was head of the CIA.
No, he wasn't. He was Alan Dulles. Jack Kennedy, after Bay of Pigs, Jack Kennedy jettisoned the Dulles brothers. But when it came time to form the Warren Commission, they put Allen Dulles, of all people, on the Warren Commission. They were never going to find any Cuban connections or Soviet connections because they hated Kennedy. They hated Kennedy, and Kennedy had gotten rid of them.
Yeah. So one other thing, your talk about the tie-in with mob and all those issues way back when, and you know about that. It's first of all, let me say this: the wins. You asked about the wins. First Amendment, when your voice on AM radio, they want to pull your voice off AM radio. They never mentioned FM, and I love my AM radio, just like my FM. Secondly, Second Amendment, of course. And then protecting the innocent lives that have been pushed across the border, the innocent children. We don't know how many hundreds of thousands of poor children. Right. We don't know where they are in this country. I am just flabbergasted by what's happened. And I'm not talking about legal, illegal. No. Children cannot be illegal. Underage children are, being
I'm on the wall. I'm getting the Adam heads up. Your points are well taken. Appreciate. Good call. So we're due to turn here. All right. It is 10:57, jumping over to 10:58, Saturday morning, 9 November lines. Well, there's one line open right now. It's 2024. Well, the weather is the weather. It's snow, but it's 37 will be the high, and 52 tomorrow, 55 on Monday. 2 more hours. Stay right here. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Bret the Hitman Hart, huh? And Slick Rick Flair, greatest two professional wrestlers. And if you've missed it on Netflix, Mr. McMahon. That's a really well done series. Good morning, everyone. It's a Saturday. Snow came into the city and rocked it. Snow diminishing. 37 will be the high, 27 tonight, and 52 tomorrow. And the melting begins. What a difference a week makes. Last Saturday, we were sitting here not knowing. And of course, now this morning we know Donald Trump won. And it is really interesting to ask questions about winning and losing and its numbers. And I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, could be remotely called a mathematician or even can pass arithmetic test. But something strikes me in this, and I thought we could just lead into it, and then the fun comes from there. But comparing 2020 to 2024 with Joe Biden, Donald Trump in 2020, and on that night, or at least in that month, I think it took to count, Joe Biden ends up with 306 electorals, 81 million and change votes. And in Colorado, got 1,800,000 and change votes. Donald Trump in 20 got 232 electorals, but these are the two significant numbers. He got 74,223,975. Donald Trump this last week, 2024. Now remember, in 20 he got 74,200,000 and change, 223. 24, Donald Trump got 74,264. Not that much difference. And we look at Colorado, Donald Trump received 1,364,607. In Colorado, Donald Trump received 1,243,879. In other words, less votes in Colorado than he did a year ago. He maintained that number of 74 million and change. On the other hand, Harris dropped to 70,357,216, 226 electorals. In other words, she's down almost 12 million votes from what happened 4 years ago. And it speaks to the questions we need to talk about on, what happened. Wins and losses, the Biden's role in all of this, and something I personally think that people have had enough of. We certainly have sat on enough talk radio and done it. Changing the name of a mountain, changing the name of a military installation, tearing down monuments. Boys can go out on the soccer field and knock a girl on her ass and still be a girl. Language control and education, inflation, foreign policy, it just added up. Donald Trump wins. All right, we go back to the phones with full lines. Brian waited the longest. Brian, you're on the radio show on a Saturday. Good morning.
Hey, Peter. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, I think the most important person, one of them at least, was Laura Trump, okay? And this is the difference between that and this time in 2020. She had lawyers all over the ground. You remember when she caught the duplicate ballots, the illegals on voter rolls? I mean, I think she had some hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits because if you remember the left's talking point in 2020, they were like, oh, he lost 165 cases. But the problem was the cases were let go because they had no standing. So they never made it to the discovery part, see? So she outwitted them. She got on top of it. It didn't change by 11 million votes.
Well, why didn't the Murdochs or OAN or Newsmax or what is to come, when the showdown happens in Delaware in the courtroom, and Fox is accused of doing what they did, lying. Why didn't Rupert Murdoch have Laura Trump come in and testify?
Well, what did they get accused of lying on, Peter?
Well, they lied about the results of the election. They did everything they were accused of. I mean, that's why the lawsuit, that was the payoff. Same thing with OAN. Come on.
Peter, you just couldn't prove it because they couldn't go to the discovery zone. But you know what, Peter? I don't want to rehash that.
No,
I know
please.
you're a 2020 election, fraud denier, which is fine.
Fraud denier.
But the bottom line is, yes, you're an election fraud denier. But the bottom line is, Peter,
yes,
it happened for the best. If I look back, because now Trump got to step out of the situation a little bit. It was his first term in. He didn't know who to trust or who not to. So I think this administration, as you're seeing right now, is going to be a whole bunch different. And we're not going to have, all the corrupt people that, like the Bill Barrs and all them people in there. Trump's actually going to have a good team in there this time. So I think it's going to work for the best this time, honestly.
Well,
I think it all worked out for the best.
And thank you for saying that's enough. But there's two wild cards in this. And I really believe that watch what RFK Jr. does. I'm serious about that. I mean, here's a guy that's loaded for bear. I think he's institutionalized about the government, about the loss of his dad and his uncle and everything that went on. And Trump brought him in and cuts him loose. Musk, on the other hand, if they stay, in other words, if they don't, whatever it is that they do or say, but there's going to be an upheaval. There really is. I mean, I see it coming, and it's either going to be incredible or it's going to, the wheels are come off it. And that's one of the things about when you make immense change. And I think this is a moment, and I would probably find, in people, but when they start changing the names of the military installations and changing mountains names and tearing down monuments and boys as girls and all this kind of stuff, inflation and cost of gasoline and foreign policy and who's coming into the country. It was time. It was just time.
Well, yeah, everything in their administration, whatever was wrong, they tried to make right. Now Trump's going to make what's right. And I guarantee you there's some people shaking in their boots right now. Christopher Wray, Garland, all these people are shaking in their boots right now because he's... Go ahead.
What do you think Big Pharma is thinking when they think of RFK Jr.?
Oh, they're shaking their boots right now, too, because I don't know if you saw, he put out a video how he's going to, clean up this situation.
Well, we'll see.
With, especially Big Pharma.
Well, but
because
all of
half these people that work for Big Pharma were the ones in control of Big Pharma. So it's a big, and he's going to make sure if you work for the government, you can't go into Big Pharma afterward. At least he's going to try. I don't know.
They stopped that, years ago with the military when the guy would be a brigadier or a major general, retire and go to work for General Dynamics. They stopped that. But I think what lies ahead, and I think it's one of the reasons why no one came out for Vice President Harris. They'd had enough. And oftentimes not voting is voting. And they call it.
Well, yeah, and she couldn't. I mean, let's face it. She couldn't answer. She either flip flopped or she wouldn't give you one policy thing. She couldn't even tell you how she voted in California on making laws a little tougher. I can't remember 126 amendment or something. When she was just a phony from the very get go. Americans, they caught on to it.
I don't think she was a phony. I just think that vice presidents, in spite of what people think, it's not a big job. I mean, in other words, it's a I don't want to say it's a nothing burger, but being the vice president is just being a vice president. But what I think happened was, I think there was a palace coup. They got rid of Joe. And I think a lot of this is going to hang on Jill Biden. She's going to be Lady Macbeth in all of this. And they kept them. One of the questions would be, had Joe Biden had the wherewithal, or his old lady had the wherewithal, or somebody would have 25th Amendmented him. And then, there's all these speculative questions. But the bottom line is, you're right. Donald Trump won.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be looking at one of the four greatest years in American history coming up. It's going to be very exciting to see. And it's a new day in America, and thank God Trump won.
Well,
those January 6th prisoners, hang in there. Relief is coming.
Okay. One of two things are going to happen. You can count on that. I mean, it is, I have this theory that history takes time out and it just goes to the sidelines and sits down for a little bit. And that ain't going to happen.
Well, the people, the House and the Senate's going to have, or the Republicans are going to have to, hold strong and be tougher than they normally are. The Mike Johnsons, who could have shut down the government a year ago, instead he wanted to, he gave them everything they wanted. He was like, well, no, we won't shut it down. We'll refinance it. So he's part of the problem. All these illegals came in.
Watch him.
And then on top of that, he's going to build that new FBI center. I guess Trump's not going to do that now. So it's going to be interesting times. We all lucked out. We dodged a bullet.
I'll tell you, and it's always what's the great line? We shall see, but it's not going to be what it was. That's for damn sure. And I do believe this. I believe that Putin and Trump have spoken at least 3 or 4 times on the phone. I think he's spoken at least that many times to Netanyahu. And maybe Xi Jinping.
Yeah, probably to the Mexican president. I mean, you have to speak to your rivals. You can't just ignore them and expect things to get better. And that's what people like about Trump. He'll speak to anybody. He'll go anywhere. But he means business, and we needed that in this time.
Henry Kissinger had a great line. He once said, "You can talk to anybody. It is what you talk about." And that's
I got you. And they're going to play the Russia collusion, and hopefully, I think people are too smart this time. They're not going to buy it. So it's going to be an exciting time. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And, it's a happy day in America. That's all I got to say, Peter. And you have a great day.
You too. Take care. We go to Mark in Westminster. Hey, Mark. Good morning. You're on the show.
Yeah. Good morning, Peter. I wasn't convinced totally that Biden cheated in 2020. But there's no doubt in my mind now because you can't have that big a spread. You might have a couple million people that didn't vote, but no, not 11 million.
Well, I tell you have to. I'm from Missouri. It's a great line from Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and he said, "I'm from Missouri. You got to show me," and that becomes the show me state. Listen,
well, I'll tell you what. Lord Trump, like Ryan said, actually had, I think, over 230,000 people, 15,000 of which were in Pennsylvania. And the people in Pennsylvania during this election, along with Michigan and Wisconsin, said they were going to shut down the voting and start up in the morning. That's how they did it when Trump was. Then the next morning, the votes started disappearing.
Now listen to me again.
Well, they couldn't do it this time because the Republicans went and they went and got a court order. And they made them stay open. So they couldn't bring in those.
It wasn't a truck or it wasn't a. They voted. Georgia voted and Pennsylvania voted. Democrats and Republicans alike. And remember, that's
Pennsylvania tried to shut it down, Peter. They tried to shut it down.
It got shut down.
Listen to
I guess I'm reading all the wrong stuff. What happened was they shut down voting at night or counting at night. And so when they shut down the counting, the Trump elements were there. When they renewed, that's why they don't have any shutdown anymore. Once you start to count,
so they can't cheat.
Oh, Mark. All right. Anything else you want to say? I can't do this anymore, folks. I hope Trump, when he goes in there, he takes the CIA and moves them to the coldest and northernmost part of Alaska, so they can watch over Russia. That's where their new headquarters is. Homeland Security's right on the border, and they don't get to have guns. And the FBI, I think they need to stick them in the most S-hole place on this in this country, and that's their new headquarters. Okay.
And I think he needs to investigate all of the directors and all of those people because Mayorkas lied. He committed perjury. He needs to go to prison. What's his name? The Attorney General lied. He committed perjury. He needs to go to prison. And then the FBI director lied, and he needs to go to prison because he committed perjury too. Trump needs to go in there and clean house, and he needs to put people in prison, just like they did the Republicans.
Take care of yourself. Thank you very much. All right, we go to Dean. Hey, Dean, you're up and you're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Pete.
Brother.
I spoke to you right before the conventions and mentioned whether or not they would really run Harris if Biden wasn't able to run. And by God, they did it, and she did better than I thought she would. But my comment is the politics is a pendulum, and I think it's where we get the terms, left and right even, and it'll swing so far to the left, and it'll swing so far to the right. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the extreme. It seems like,
Well, one of the things that I believe is will be a main theme on the Democratic Party, not that they know what to do, but I think that the way that the Bidens hung in there, and I blame some of it on Dr. Jill Biden, is and maybe they stayed to protect Hunter. I don't know that, but he should have gotten out of there. He had to know. She certainly had to know. The people around them had to know that his oars were not in the water, and they stayed with him. I'm not convinced that when the first debate, when they set him out against Donald Trump I think it was in June, that was to show the American people. I really believe this. The Democratic power brokers put him out there to look like a fool, and he did. Then he went to NATO. Remember, he walked off. There's all these NATO commanders are standing there, and all of a sudden he just wanders off. Then they bring him back for the press conference, and then he really looks like a fool in that press conference. They still don't yank him. And had they yanked him, I don't know, February, and because do you if I ask you this, who's running this country right now? I don't know. Do you?
No.
Seriously. And do you know who's running America right now? Because I don't. So what do you do? What do you do with all of that?
He's gone.
Oh, we're sorry. Do we lose a caller? What happened? Yeah. Who is this? Michael, the caller, or Dean, the caller?
Dean.
Okay. So how does it all work out? I mean, I'm kind of got confusing stuff here on the board in front of me. We have Dean with us. So, I mean, remember, she gets anointed by whom? The Obamas and the Clintons and a handful of power brokers. Did they anoint her without the input from rank and file Democrats? When Trump goes in through primaries. It's your turn. All right, I'm going to do this. This is too screwed up. Let's figure out what we're supposed to do here. All right. Somehow we got ahead of ourselves. 303-696-1971. Is Dustin next on line one up at the top? All right. Okay. I'm sorry, folks. It just happens that way moving west. Dustin, hey, man, thanks. You're on the radio show Saturday. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Pete. That whole mathematical thing that you always claim is difficult for you, it was difficult to listen to on spitting out the numbers on what he did. And so if we look at what he did in 2020 and you say it's the same here in Colorado, let's say, I'm going to say that he actually gained votes.
Oh, he lost votes.
Well, even though the numbers are the same, think of all the detractors that were never Trumpers.
Well, here in Colorado,
so there's a whole.
Whoa. But reality, you have to play with reality, not what if. In 2020, Donald Trump's total in Colorado was 1,364,607 votes. In 24, Donald Trump in Colorado received 1,243,879 total votes. So a little less than 100.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No,
maybe it was a 2016 number that I was thinking that needed to be.
Now 16. Remember that was 16 was he beat Hillary Clinton, but the Biden vote and versus the Harris vote. Just compare and contrast those two votes. Donald Trump's numbers between 20 and 24 don't change that much. He got 74,223,975 in 20. 24, he got 74 million, same lead number, 264,000. Remember, then to 223,000 to 469 to 975. Those numbers were pretty, and in that wide world of sports, those numbers were stagnant. There wasn't that much of a change, except it led to 301 electoral votes. Showtime.
Well, do you think Kamala was throwing cakes at TVs?
You know
like
what? I
Hillary
thought
did?
about that because they played that same rookie game about they'll be out in the morning. But no, I mean, I who knows? Because
Hillary was kicking Bill and Barack in the sack for losing. Here's the question: is Kamala kicking Joe in the sack, or is Joe kicking Kamala for the loss for the Democrats?
Joe got forced out. I mean, from just whatever this first blush of reading is, I go back to when they got Nixon, and it's, all the power Republicans in the Senate went to the Oval Office and said, Dick, it's time. They could not hold back the impeachment. They didn't have enough votes. And then Dick Nixon begins his process of resigning. I don't know if they wanted to we'll know. I mean, some books will be published, I'm sure, before the end of the year. But where was the snap moment? Where was the lay down moment where Joe said, or whomever said, Jill said, we're done. We're out.
Well, some of my reading, I saw Nasty Baloney was saying he didn't get out early enough, but she was the one with the push broom whisking him out the door. And she's blaming Joe for not ducking out early enough so that they could primary.
Well, I think there's something to that. I really do. I mean, had Joe gone and say pulled the pin in, I don't know, January, February, it might
timing's everything.
But it might not have even been. She may not have been the candidate. Remember, she gets.
Well, I called you before all this happened and asked if Trump had got waxed, who would be the Repubs candidate then?
Vance, I'd guess. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's a game that's taking place right now. At least we're reading about it. It's a blame game on Biden, without the Democrats self-examining themselves on the political issues, the monuments and the stuff that you and I spoke about, or we spoke about, boys and his girls and everything that goes with it. I don't know if anybody could have gone up there and won. Seriously.
How Supreme Court appointments is
big.
Is one going to step away so Biden can put one in still in his term?
Well, Donald Trump's going to get to appoint more people to that court.
Well, it's 7-3, and
they're trying to get rid of Sotomayor is what I read. I don't know if that's. I just when you read that, but they want to get rid of Sotomayor.
Well, I think the worm has turned for the Democratic Party here.
Yes, but it has to. It's more about that'll be enough, and I think you go back to this litany of things that people were chomping on the bit, and it was the Democrats were in their lives, and Donald Trump promises, "I'll get you out of this," and I think that helps so much. But again,
I'm tired of $20 fill up the Harley too.
Oh man, I mean, I filled that motorcycle up and hit $20, and I had an empty tank anyhow. But $20 to fill up a motorcycle, man.
Hopefully, good things are yet to come for the next 4 years, and then maybe we could do a 12-year run like had happened in the 80s.
It's entirely possible. Once it starts,
and it's very needed.
Well, the foreign policy issues are the Gaza, Middle East, and everything that's taking place, and Ukraine. What do you think Donald Trump will do in Ukraine?
Put an end to it one way or another. A tourniquet hasn't even been put on to stop the bleeding.
No. United States.
So we'll have a tourniquet of some sort.
And United States of America is in a ghost war right now with Russia, and it's the work of it's Joe Biden's work. I mean, they have gotten themselves into. We have gotten ourselves into a war with the last guy you really want to be at war with, and he and Trump are friends. I mean, admittedly, Trump sends them the COVID test that everybody makes a big deal out of.
Sure. Well, you had asked how many phone calls? 3. Didn't Netanyahu go to Mar-a-Lago?
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about now.
And meet with them.
But now since Trump won.
Sure, at least 3 then.
Yeah. Oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's what they're doing right now.
If not daily, he's on the phone to these people saying it's going to be like this and like that.
Yeah, and Joe Biden and Netanyahu don't like each other. And I'm reading Woodward's book. I'm almost done with this. And it's entitled War. And it's really about Joe Biden and the Ukraine and Joe Biden. And he was big on sending envoys. He would send an envoy to meet with a Russian envoy. And the answer was, and Nixon knew it and Trump knew it. Go see the guy, and Jack Kennedy knew it. Go see the guy. Sit in a room with him.
It's Dago math. If you got 3 apples and I got 3 apples and I punch you in the nose, how many apples have I got now?
6. No, that was mathematics for us growing up. I got this, and that big kid's going to try and take it from me. we were talking about my brother and I about Halloween. When you go out on Halloween night, you had to dodge big kids. Big kids would try and get your bag.
My pillow sack.
Yeah. Hey kid, come here for a second. No. They'd be leaning on their cars. Hey, let me see. Let me come here for a minute.
All I had to do was be faster than my friend.
It's like chasing bears. Thanks. Good. Good. All right. Where are we here? It's break time. All right. 303-696-1971. Good morning, everybody. And my friends at the Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned, locally operated by Steve and Michelle. We have been big fans, and home style cooking worth going for in 8 locations. There's one near you. When is the last time you took the family unit to the P? Thanksgiving's coming, man. It's a special night, special day. But here's this new stuff that they're doing now. They're stuffing potatoes. Yum. 8 different delicious baked potatoes, the chopped steak spud, the sweet pork spud, the meatloaf. There's one. The meatloaf stuffed spud, broccoli cheese and stuffed spud. Everybody's going to find what they like, and it's wonderful. Make your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event a success with a Black Eyed Pea. No matter what, and the holidays are coming, you need a cater. So whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, holiday presents, whatever, they got you covered. Whatever you need. Love everything about the families and everything about the restaurants. I know you will as well. Keep it in Colorado and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Morning, everybody. Do it again. Saturday, 9 November 2024, 11:35, 25 before the hour, a whole other hour after that. Lines are jammed. We're talking about results and outcomes. And where do we go? Which one do we? Oh, that's right. Oh, it's just Mike DeManna. Hey, Michael. Good morning, man. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Pete. Nice to talk to you. I called in to talk about a couple of things. As you probably know, your call screener knows that I was actually a candidate.
Yeah, sure.
House District 2 in Denver on the Republican side.
Yeah.
We got beat. We got beat pretty bad, but not as bad as we had in the past. So we made a little bit of progress. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Trump victory and the number of votes. It is interesting that vote number that Trump had in 24 in 20 was close to what he had in 24. And the reason I say it's interesting is for two reasons. One, Kamala Harris's vote was way down. I mean,
way down.
You had a gentleman call.
Yeah.
You had a gentleman call a few some time ago that was looking for 12 million votes difference between her and Biden. That's a lot of votes, an awful lot of votes. Trump, on the other hand, is about the same. But when you look at what happened as far as the number is concerned, Trump exceeded every category of voter from what he did in 2020. Men, women, young people, Hispanics, blacks, black women, black men. They were all up and up by significant percentages. The young vote was up by 10%. So
a lot of
numbers.
And a lot of the people that I read, Michael, say that's Musk that really put.
I believe it.
Oh, I do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I believe that 100%. I also believe it may have been Kennedy, too. I mean,
that as well.
Look,
yeah.
People are complaining. I shouldn't say people. The people that talk to me are complaining, my Democratic friends, that Trump's going to appoint all these billionaires to his cabinet.
No.
Isn't that who you want? I mean, you want successful people to run the government.
And you know what? It used to be the Senate used to be called the Millionaires Club because the states would the elected officials in the states would vote for two men that usually took care of them, and they sent them. That's who went to the Senate, and they were called the Millionaires Club. When guys went to they were senators because they had money. And, I have this strange thing with Trump, especially, and I keep coming back to this RFK Jr. This guy, Mike, I mean, what a Jones he must have on the government. Seriously.
I don't disagree.
Oh,
and I'm really looking forward.
Me too.
Because, these confirmations will be quick. Now that we have 53 or 54 votes in the Senate, these confirmations will be very quick. So we'll get things done quickly. The other thing about Putin that you've been talking about, Trump said during the campaign, he would have this Ukraine problem solved before he was sworn in.
Yep. And you know who said that? Remember Eisenhower, when Eisenhower said, and Harry Truman's deadlocked in Korea, or stalemated, and Jack, and Dwight Eisenhower said, I will go to Korea and I'll end this. And he did.
Yeah.
And it's what made him a hero. No, I mean, it's doable.
Yeah, it is such an, I mean, was I disappointed in losing my race? Yes. Did I have any chance to win my race? No.
Not in Denver.
But here's what I did. I was able to stand up and give people an option. And my platform was Trump's platform. Crime, defunding the police, immigration, all of that stuff. And you can just look at the Denver ballot. We are actually going to hire police officers and firemen that aren't citizens of the country.
Well, I know. But here
in Denver.
And again, Colorado, and as you know, as a Republican, Colorado runs the absolute worst candidates they can for governor. Now, I think Polis is done next year. He's term limited, is he not?
Yeah.
So now,
right, yes.
So who rushes into that void? Because if you can win at the top, and you're not, I mean, I don't want to start this stuff up with the Republican Party, but if these two people battle each other, then you'll get a lousy candidate. But if everybody can unite and find some man or woman that they can get behind, given everything that's happened, it's not inconceivable to see that job go to a Republican. But ... You know,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you. At least this is just my opinion, real quickly. Jared Polis likes Phil Weiser
very much. Yeah.
Michael, the mayor Hancock, or whatever his last name is,
Johnston. Yeah.
Michael Johnson. He wants to run for governor, but they have the Secretary of State in the way, and so that's what all this crap was about.
But that's right.
She's gone now.
She's done. Absolutely.
She's gone.
Absolutely.
So now it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the other thing I want to just mention, when you say, had they had a primary, the Democrats had a primary earlier. Biden got out earlier. They had a primary. Who in the hell were they going to run?
Well, my best guess probably would have been Newsom, but a
white male over a black woman.
I know. I understand.
Be kidding me.
No, but if you did primaries, remember again, Trump went through every primary.
Yes, he did.
She never was primaried once. She was anointed. And the question I have that someday some historians are going to write about, who was it that anointed her?
Yeah, good question. Well, my personal opinion on that, I think it was Barack Obama.
Probably.
I think Barack has come out now, and he may be persona non grata for a while.
Yeah.
Because he really blew it. Blew it with black men. I think he blew it with black women. Those guys, all of them, Pelosi, Schumer, Obama, everybody took the shot, right? And they lost bad.
But there's something that my grandma would say, being cocksure.
Right, exactly.
And I think they were drinking their own Kool-Aid. They were so convinced that what happened to Trump before was going to happen again. What they didn't recognize, I think, was a series of events. I mean, I wrote them down, renaming military installations and renaming mountains and tearing down monuments and boys as girls and language and education, inflation, foreign policy, cost of fuel. Inflation what's the old saying of people vote their wallets? Right. It was the idea whose time had come. And it wasn't a question of being Donald Trump. I mean, although Donald Trump plays out in it.
I don't disagree with you. I think the Democrats were counting on the fact that so many people hated him, that this was going to be another hate election like it was in 2020. That just wasn't going to happen. And all they needed to do was just look at Colorado, right? The line to see him at that event that he had in Aurora reached all the way from the Gaylord back to I-470. That's 1.5 miles.
I thought that too, but when you look at Trump numbers for Colorado, and again, we can believe whatever we want to believe, but Donald Trump in 20 received here in Colorado 1,364,607 votes. Donald Trump in 24 in Colorado, 1,243,879, almost 100,000 less.
But let me give you another part of that, because your friend Ted Treba said on the broadcast that you had Tuesday night, which was great, by the way.
Thank you.
Loved it.
Thank you.
But Treba said Trump will never exceed 40%. Okay, may have had the same number of votes that he had in 20, but it was almost 44%. So people came out, voted for Trump.
In Colorado, they voted less than they did the 4 years before.
I don't disagree. But again, if you look at percentages, he exceeded it.
Well,
so in fact, he's up in every state in the country.
No, it isn't so much that. What I think that's really interesting, and it speaks more to the Democrats, is that his numbers from 4 years ago, they're I don't want to say stagnant, but they're very similar 74,223,000, 74,264,000. So it wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of plates of the earth shifting. It was the Democrats that nobody wanted. Their time had come, and nobody wanted them, and Donald Trump was in the slot, and the right guy for the right time.
No, that's absolutely true. Their time had come, and in my time on the campaign trail, as limited as it was for one office, I'd never run for office before, but I'll tell you something. People were telling me exactly the same thing. Boys and women's sports, boys and girls,
all of it,
changing monuments,
yes,
same stuff, you know, and the inflation. And she was going to solve it by price control.
No, or my other one was she started this crap on corporate greed. I'm going, corporate greed. That's straight out of George McGovern. I mean, you know, don't you?
So I'll tell you, Pete, that when that D's behind their name, at least in Colorado, at least right now, and has been for a while, they will continue to vote for it. In my district, we had 66,000 voters. Okay, of that 66,000, only 7,100 are Republicans.
Yeah,
that's it. The rest are Democrats and independents. I pulled 8,500 votes, which was 25% of the total. So my opponent got less votes than he did 2 years ago. So something's happening. May not be seismic, but we're going to keep at it.
I agree.
Keep standing up. We're going to keep fighting.
I agree. And things come in waves, and I agree to that too. And this may be the first. This is the red tsunami that didn't show up.
I'm excited.
We'll see. We'll take care of yourself, sir. You're important. Thanks, Mike. Thanks a lot. All right, everyone. 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Great song of loneliness. Never get over that. Twin Texas Fiddles. George Strait. What a song. Pow, for Katie. Yes. I saw him do this in Cheyenne. And he's got Donald Trump wins. 37 the high, and tomorrow 52 and 55 on Monday. We'll go to the phones. Tony, we're making the turn. Tony, you're on the radio show. Good morning.
Uncle Pete, how you doing?
My man.
You know, Uncle Pete, as a black man born in 1962, I am so happy, man. I mean, Trump. That man has took a beating. They call them Hitler. They call them this. And for my people not to go for that this time, not for my people not to go for that, I am so excited.
Let me ask you. One of the many demographics that, and this is all rough stuff, and it's early and it's raw. Why didn't, and again, the demos say, or at least the exit polling says it, black men did not vote for her?
Because you know what? Let me tell you what happened, Pete. This is coming from me, and I'm not speaking for the whole world, but this is common sense. We didn't want our intelligence being played with. She's not a black woman. She's East Indian. And they say race doesn't matter. Yeah, it does with us. Don't play with our cultural intelligence. Don't do identity politics in case of emergency when you have to. We didn't go for the okie doke. When she had Megan Thee Stallion dance, and you know what, Peter, she can be a president. Yes, she can, but be a president of the Girl Scouts. Be a president of women of color, not of the United States. Peter, this is the first time Americans got together and say that's enough. I don't care if it was Bubba, if it was a redneck, if it was a dumb black person, whatever the case, Spanish, Latino, Mexican. If you're born here, we wasn't going for it. People don't realize in the Spanish community, in the Latino community, in the black community, even in the white community, all of us don't love each other. White people don't like all white people. Blacks don't like all black people. We wasn't going for the game. It's okay to come into America, but come in legally. Don't come in with a motive and a game plan. The fentanyl, go to the welfare office. You come here pregnant. You got 1,000 babies with you, and our Americans are homeless. Our veterans are homeless, but you come here smiling. Things you got pedicures. You're looking good. You're walking across the water with clean pants on, and you're coming for benefits. Black people haven't gotten our 40 acres in the mule. Our ancestors built this country. Poor white people have built this country. Mexicans, people that's born here, your grandma, big mama, they came in and built the country. You don't come here all of a sudden and take it over. God bless Trump, that beautiful man and his beautiful family. J.D. Vance is a good second chance. That man, what's his name? Tim Walsh. That man is creepy. He's creepy. I don't know what planet he's from. And let me tell you something, Peter. Kamala Harris, when you go to the next room and hear Kamila's voice, her voice is irritating, man. She's very irkable. I mean, her voice doesn't sound good, and she doesn't have that personality. You have to have you know what, when you deal with people in third world countries, you have to have an it factor. Trump has an it factor. Trump is like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Prince. You got to have an it factor about you. Man, praise God for Trump, Peter.
One of the things I say about Donald Trump, he takes the oxygen out of the room. When he comes in the room, it's his room. I mean, for good, bad, indifferent, when he comes in, he takes the and that's a term we use in the business. He's the attention. He gets the attention.
He has a presence. He has
but it's good. It's good and it's bad. I mean, there's plenty of people. I mean, look, you and I grew up that way, and you walk. Somebody come in a room and somebody turn their head and go, you know. Another guy said, "Hey, you know," and it's a dynamic. It's a social dynamic, and it doesn't mean that they love you, but it means that,
Right.
What was that great line in A Bronx Tale when the kid says, is it better to be loved or feared? Or what was he asking?
It's better to be feared than loved. Chaz
right.
Palminteri.
That's right.
It's
A
better,
Bronx Tale.
Right.
Yeah.
It's better. Great movie. That movie's Bible.
Great movie.
Oh, that movie's. Oh man. It's like the 1950s right in front of you.
Yeah.
He said it's better to be feared than loved. But then again, Trump is gangster. He's a businessman.
Yes.
He's everything. And here's what gets me upset, Peter. I want to know how come the hip hop community didn't come to his defense when they were calling him racist. Back in the 80s, all the hip hop people, Russell Simmons, Michael, everybody loved Trump. They went to the parties. All of a sudden, he became this enemy.
Yeah.
That tells you about the media. Nobody's going for the media no more. And the best thing I love about this, Black people are learning that they have been in a slave-like democratic coma. This is the first time Black people have found out that they have been in a coma. And this is a deep time for Americans, no matter what color. Trump is the people's champ. He's the we voted him in. He's like Andrew Dice Clay. He's the regular guy you see.
I love it.
He's the regular guy you see at the Irish pub that'll buy your drink during happy hour.
Oh.
That's who Donald Trump is.
Okay.
He's the man.
We hit the wall.
I feel so good.
Yo, Rennie, get him, Tone. All right. Back on the other side, we got now we start to say good afternoon. It is Saturday, November 9th, 2024. It is now 11:58. We have one more hour of Good Afternoon Talk Radio. Donald Trump won. Why did Trump win? Or why did Harris lose? And it's cold outside right now. Joe Biden and Dr. Jill, if you're a Democrat, are you mad at them? Stay right here. We got Adam Walker's got it. 710 KNUS, I'm Peter Boyles. Wait, we're right back. Now I get to say good afternoon, everybody. 710 KNUS on a Saturday, 12:04. I'm Peter Boyles, on the air everywhere. And the weather was amazing last night, a little rough this morning. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather says 37, snow diminishing, 27 tonight, but 52 on Sunday and Monday, 55. Look at Tuesday, 57 degrees. What a difference a week makes. And Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States of America. One of the things that I find really, really, really interesting, and it's about voter turnout, voter behavior, and we've done it at the opening of every hour this morning, but the differences are really not that dissimilar. Donald Trump in 2020 received 74,223,000 and change. Donald Trump in 2024 received 74,264,000 and change. It was the entire beating that the Democratic Party took. And Harris's votes were so diminished, she almost 11, 12 million down. So we talk about, prize fighting and talk about, ball playing and losing and winning. One of the many wild cards in this were just called the sick and tireds. And I certainly am sick and tired of it. And I put on this list of things when I was making the worksheet out, changing the names of military installations, taking down monuments, renaming streets, renaming mountaintops, boys playing as girls, language control, inflation, the price of gasoline. I would mention, it cost me my motorcycle was almost on empty. And I put a full tank of gas in it. It was $20, $20 to fill up a Harley Davidson. I said, somebody's out of their mind. So win, lose, or draw. Now what's next? 710 KNUS. We have two lines open. First time since we started the show, 303-696-1971. Let us go to Mike. Hey, Mike, good morning, man. You waited. Thank you. Good afternoon. I said good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, Peter. Hey, I like your numbers that you've been putting out there. I'm kind of a numbers guy and been doing some research too on some of this. But I've got a question for you. And, I'm going to talk about the 2020 election, because when I look at the history of the numbers from 2024, the presidential numbers, all the way back to Obama, one thing still stands out, and I cannot come up with an explanation. Joe Biden gets 81 million votes, 15 million more than Hillary got in the 2016 election. And you're right, all of a sudden, Kamala can't pull that same number. She's got 11 million less, I believe. There was, in 2020, there was record turnout, highest in 120 years. 67% of the people voted.
That's right.
I think this time we're about 62%, which is more historically average. What I've seen.
The question, Mike, is when they take a drop like that, was it Democrats that dropped or Republicans that dropped? Democrats.
Well, it was the Democrats that dropped because Trump has the same number as he did in
That's
2016.
Right. Absolutely.
Or 2020. But boy, I'll tell you that nobody's ever going to be able to prove it. But the 2020 election, that number sure looks like fraud to me.
Well, then you got it. Then if you have that answer, for God's sake, get a hold of Rupert Murdoch.
Well, but Pete, they were after the voting machines. They were claiming the voting machines.
Well, they claimed everything.
With mail-in balloting, all the way back to the 2005 Baker-Carter Commission, they have said the biggest problem with mail-in voting is going to be absentee voting and the whole process verification. So it's just hard to reconcile that.
Okay, but that was also the COVID vote, and that's really important. That was the COVID vote, and Republicans and Democrats alike, and they went to the mail-ins, but then the two hung up states were Philly and Georgia. and ask Rudolph Giuliani about Georgia. What I'm saying to is,
well,
then they look. Those two women their lives were destroyed by Giuliani.
Yeah, that's the machine stuff again. I guess where I'm going with this is that and by the way, they have found boxes. They found 5,000 erroneous ballots that were turned into the Muskegon, Michigan. They were fraudulent. The police report and everything. There was not much scrutiny in 2020 on the mail-in balloting process. Signature verification was done.
All those the Dominion machines are adding machines. That's all they are. And they're not connected to the internet. The stuff that was said by the Kraken and all this kind of stuff and Pillow Mike and these people, there's two things I'm reading right now. Have there been, or has there been, or is there? Yeah, you bet. I mean, the Kennedy election is, but it's provable. I love your calls. You're a brilliant guy. When it comes to Jack Kennedy in West Virginia and Jack Kennedy in Chicago and Cook County, there's evidence. It's provable. You could, if you were going to grad school and doing they would accept it. If you were, historians accept the fact that they stole it. They stole it from Nixon, and it was Joe Kennedy, the mob, and everybody. And the same thing is true with Lyndon Johnson. They find the box of votes in it, and I'm started to read a book. I was just waiting for my daughter, so I got this book, and it's about Frank Church and the Church Committee, and it's called The Last Honest Man, and it's just brilliant because remember, Church investigates the CIA and the FBI and the Kennedy assassination. They find stuff. Look, I no more believe that these people were a bunch of cherries than I believe fly to the moon. But you got to show it.
Okay, I agree. And I think I opened up and I said that nobody's ever going to be able to prove it one way or the other. I don't believe. But so let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Kind of tap into your historical memory here. Going back to 2020, I remember Biden was not popular in the primaries, the Democratic primary, and he got selected. He kind of got appointed based in South Carolina. Everybody else dropped out. He was an old white guy, which is not something that they're proud of or they want to deal with. And he ran a campaign out of his basement.
Sure, he did.
He never came out.
Who was it? What
do you attribute that wild enthusiasm?
Smart.
He got 15 million more votes than Hillary did.
But he was smart. Maybe, and one of the many critiques that I've read, suppose they'd have taken Harris and put her in the basement and told her not to come out. Joe, that people were so upset. There was COVID, all the problems. Donald Trump, no matter what you want to believe, Donald Trump does not appeal to everybody. And all of this stuff is going on, and people vote against somebody. I think it's what happened to Harris. They either, they call it down balloting. You hear that word or that term. People didn't go and vote for her. That was it.
She got 48% of the vote.
That's
the same thing that Hillary got.
Well, but that doesn't matter. That was then. This is now.
But they hated Hillary.
Indeed, and they hated her.
And they hate Trump.
But Trump. I think this is where this part about being fed up. I think that the rank and file American is just fed up with all the stuff that was brought on. And you can go back to Obama, or you can go back further to Bill Clinton. You can take it where you want to take it. But the American people are fed up. It didn't matter, if it was St. Thomas Aquinas running as a Democrat, he was going to get beat. And one of the reasons they got Joe out of the way was they thought, well, Joe's going to get beat. Really? Well, do you think that the Bidens were really happy when Harris got beat?
I think so. Yeah,
Me too.
I believe that.
Me too.
I believe that Joe was so unpopular that they went to him, his pollsters, and said, "You got no path.
Yeah.
We're not going to. You can't win this thing."
Yeah.
They picked the right DEI candidate for the Democratic Party, anointed her, and Biden and those guys had no intention of leaving. They had to force him out of the race.
Oh, but they're called palace coups. I mean, they.
Oh yeah.
And I want to know who was in the room, who said what, and who told them it was showtime. And right now, I mean, who do you think is running this country? Who do you think the president is? I can tell you who I think. I tell you, I think it is the president of this country right now is Donald Trump. They're not dealing with Joe. How many times do you think Putin has talked to Trump since Tuesday night?
Oh yeah, he's off and running already. You're right.
How many times do you think Netanyahu has had a conversation with Donald Trump since Tuesday night?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's received congratulations from everybody, and I'll bet he's been on the phone continuously.
I got my wise guy friend sent me a picture, and it's looking through one of those the little windows in the door that you can peek out and see who's in the hallway. And there's a picture. Yeah. There's a picture of Putin and Kim, and Putin's got a bottle of champagne.
Remember when Putin during this election season, he said he was endorsing Kamala because of her infectious laugh. I think it was.
Listen,
he's a delightful person. He came out with a public statement.
One thing you can always count on: they'll tell you a lie. I mean,
he's playing with us.
Yeah. Talk to you. Thank you. All right, everybody. It's time to talk about Danny Kaplis. And for real, I mean, this is just a good man. And Danny has said, look, you choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you and to the people that are involved in it. Dan's old man was a cop. We talk about that. We talk about him growing up. But he's a good, I've known him forever. He's a good guy, believed to be the only attorney in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in Colorado crash cases, believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. The beat goes on. Dan Kaplis Law, now the official law firm partner of the Nuggets and the Avs. And the firm is a serious firm for serious things. And Dan accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis. He can represent good folks like you and me and everybody else from all walks of life without regards to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770. Just even if you got a question, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551. Or visit dankaplislaw.com, CAPLIS law.com. Back to the phones we go. All right, we go to David. Hey, David, you're on the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's kind of off topic, but the last time I called in, I talked about we talked about the full throttle and all that stuff.
Wow,
and
sure.
Yeah, and your trike, you had mentioned that, and so I was watching. Well, I'm listening to you, but it was on the commercial, and I just happened to have the TV on. I glanced up, and they had the show just on that same channel called Speeders. So they go along, with a camera with the cops, kind of like that old show, and they just focusing on speeders. So anyway, and I'll get to the punchline. But this guy, after they pull him over, he's an old overweight fed truck driver and such, and they talk to him, and he's describing his bike, and he's got this trike custom, real nice paint job, and he said it's an 07 Bob Haas or whatever. I don't know what it is.
Oh, it was a Boss Hog. It had a Chevy engine in it. Sure, that's what he.
There you go. And he said it's got a 350.
It does.
I mean, a car engine. You know what? The funny thing is they clocked. I've never even seen anything like it this fast.
I've ridden.
And the guy's on a trike, and the cop clocked him on the radar at 94 in a 45. The guy was going.
Sure.
I thought they'd just take him to jail, but
no, they make those, and I'm trying to think where they make them. They're called Boss, BOSS, Boss Hogs.
Okay.
And they make two-wheelers and they make trikes. And
yeah,
I rode one. It's like a guy. We're doing a remote, and it was when I don't know. This crosses over into pro wrestling. Denver. It was the birthplace of one of the great professional wrestlers, a guy named Dr. Death. This is Steve Williams, Dr. Death. And Doc got sick, and Doc literally came home to end it. And so I had never met Doc. I heard all the stories about Dr. Death. And so I went and I met him. It turns out he rode a Harley. So I started taking Doc with me, or I would go with Doc. People they would turn out to see Dr. Death for, because he was like this. He fought in the shoot fights in Japan. I mean, he was Barney Badass. He really was. So Doc and I, and this guy had a trike. He had a Boss Hog trike, and we were doing a remote someplace. I don't know. I had the Doc with me, and guy said, "What? You want to ride this?" And I look at Doc. I said, "Get on." And we have a running gag. If you see two guys on a motorcycle together, one guy in the back, he better be carrying a gas can.
That's funny.
And Doc and I got this big monster. He said, "You drive." Sure. And I mean, it was before I got mine. So but no, they're called Boss Hogs. And
okay.
I actually know a guy that has a hog that it's a motorcycle, and you get out on the highway with them. You want to run, and they're automatics. You don't shift them, and you get out on the highway with them, and you're going to play. That's how fast we can go. All of a sudden, blap, they're right by you. And no, they're legit bikes. They're out there. They're real. I love them. I mean,
well, I just can't even imagine, because I drove an ATV and it was a three-wheeler, and I think they probably stopped making them because it's unstable. I mean, it's different than two-wheel. And this guy's doing 94 miles in a 45.
Oh, sure.
I just can't imagine going that. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I have a friend who represents motorcyclists in precarious moments. And so he's got a case right now, and because I love motorcycles and people that ride them are like my favorite human beings. So this kid, he's got a sport bike, and I don't know, it's something hot. It's a Kawasaki or it's a Hayabusa or something. And you know how if you go to Castle Rock and you're going northbound on 25, you can come down that ramp and start up I-25. Well, he's got this girl on the back, and they're doing a koala bear. He's got that koala bear thing going. He's got the front wheel. He's on one wheel. He's doing 85 miles an hour. She's the koala bear, and he smoked. So they got him, and so they got him on careless and all this kind of stuff. And and they're just maniac kids on motor. Have you seen a movie called Bike Riders? Have you gone to see that? Seen it?
No, I haven't.
See it. Okay. See it. It's all right. It's another era, but God, it's really well done. And I don't know. I love that stuff. I rode all last week, and I'll give them a plug. There's a shop that not just opened, but it's in Castle Rock, and it's called Devil's Head Choppers. And these guys know what they're doing, building bikes. There's bike builders out there. There's I just can't do it, but you hang around with them long enough, it rubs off a little bit. Do you ride yourself?
Yeah, well, it's been a long time. I had trail bikes,
Sure.
when I was a kid, and then I was going to get one, but street bike. But yeah, I just never did. But I mainly rode dirt bikes.
No,
but
it's time.
Might be. Yeah,
it's time.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. You only live once, and
that's it.
May as well. But I'll check out that movie as well. The Bike Riders, and then I just called it. I just thought you'd get a kick out of that. 94 and a 45 on a trike.
I'm surprised that was it. It was like, do you ever? Where most of the really cool stuff is on YouTube. Like, you know, like those guys, they put those GoPros on their hats and stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, and then they show, and I watch it when it's on, but you know, the real Motor GT, you know, the real racers. And I think there's like 12 or 13 Motor GTs, and there's that, you know, Indonesia, you know, that kind of thing. And those guys, I mean, they are the motorcycle riders. And I've said there's a guy here in town named Mark Miller, and Mark teaches law enforcement motorcycle riding. I never saw anybody ride like Mark, but those guys that ride for the factory, ride for money.
Yeah.
And then the nitro bike riders and stuff like that. And they're so good. They're so good.
Yeah.
And you don't know how good is until you see good, you know?
Right.
So no, I want to go to the Isle of Man. We're talking about seeing that this summer. I have two friends that go, and I want to, that's a don't, man. And they say you go and you rent a bike. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't even, that's beyond dangerous. That's just amazing.
They outlawed that. That was on the circuit for years. You went and rode the Isle of Man. It was a sanctioned Moto GT, and they ended it because guys are getting killed.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's like a neighborhood. I mean, you're going around. There's a brick wall, and
there's a brick. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Great call. Made my morning. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we do a turn here. Talk about my friends at Water Pros. Water Pros cares about the quality of your water. You can remove forever chemicals and microplastics and hard water and water. Well, here, look, bang, bang. Let's do this. Call them up, 303-862-5554, and have them come test your water. 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554. Say, come check my water. Boyles said you do it. And they start the process and they sign up. You could do waterpros.net as well. And it's a free in-home consultation. They come to the house and they'll test your water and they'll show you the results and all this kind of stuff. And they answer all your questions and concerns. So, I mean, if you're not sure, and a lot of people got bad water, we did. These guys, the Water Pros is family-owned, veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you the best in water treatment for less than the other guys. Start with this. All right, 303-862-5554. Come test my water. See what happens next. Ask for the Peter Boyles Special.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Afternoon, everybody. Saturday, 9 November. Full lines, 37. Snow diminishes, starts to melt tomorrow. Get a little melting action. Our lines are full. It's really been another fun Saturday morning show. Back to the lines we go. We go to Jack. Jack, you're on the radio show. It's Saturday. Good afternoon.
It's always fun with you, Cranston.
Oh, boy.
Hey, you're talking about elections and how to make them credible. Boy, I've got an echo bouncing back.
All right. Well, it's probably our end or your end, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in Argentina, there's a couple lessons could be learned down there. Number one, it's mandatory to vote. So if you've got two parties running for office, you've got a calculation. You got so many votes for party A, so many for party B, and the ones who don't vote are fined by the government. They're sent a fine for not voting. So you can calculate and track. You don't have a huge, vast unknown like you have in this country. Nobody can verify anything. I think that's a good idea.
I don't.
Okay,
I don't. I mean, well, because the ballot, it's a secret ballot. It's nobody else's business. When I've listened to the Argentinian argument before, and I think there's one or two other countries of the world that do that as well. No, you don't want the government to know how you voted, who you are. I mean, I know they know. I mean, I think, man, I'm being naive, but it always, Jack, it troubles me when stuff like that. When I say,
well, I don't know that they have to know who you voted for, but they get. You've got three bodies of numbers. You've got for one candidate for another candidate, and then the ones who don't vote, they get fined. I mean, what we have here is so wide open. There's no way to certify it. There's no way to guarantee whether it's being. Come on. Here's another thing with Argentina too. When Perón ran, he was a military officer. He wasn't actually. The only reason he was is because Evita was so popular. Without Evita, there never would have been a Juan Perón. Okay,
the guy was a dictator, for God's sake. They were a military coup.
That was later. That was later.
No, the Peronists were. I mean, the term gets kicked around, fascist. He was pretty. He wasn't a fascist, but he was dictatorial, and he was a coup. I think he was a colonel.
That's right, but that wasn't the point I was getting to. The point is the only reason he got in was he's riding her coattails. The reason she couldn't run for office, because in Argentina, if you're an illegitimate by birth, you're not allowed to hold office.
But she also was a cabaret dancer. She was. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, but she maybe crossed.
She was
over.
A radio person, just like you.
Well, she actually played semi-pro, I think. And no, I mean, he's in the times of Juan Perón, and you know who their driver. I mean, I read the books about them. Who their driver was for a while.
No,
Juan Fangio, the great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Fangio was. He was an Argentinian, and then Scorsese went there for a while. The great commando, the Nazi commando, he went there for a while, and no one ever knew, you know, the pipeline that's called the Rat Line or the Odessa. How many people poured into Argentina with the support?
From Germany.
Yeah, they actually wore the World War II German helmets when they marched. I mean, and he disappeared many of his opposition.
Yes. Well, Argentina and Uruguay as well. They were equally as receptive to the Nazis. Because I go down there hunting. I know those people. I hunt birds now. It's the best bird hunting in the world.
I'm told that you can get into the little villages in enclaves or conclaves of German speaking, and it's just as
absolutely.
It's the 30s.
When you see the Uruguayans and you see the Argentinians with blonde hair and blue eyes, and when you go hunting with them, then when you get back to their house as their guest, they bring out their grandfather's Luger.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Every time.
I mean, that's where they all went. That's where Eichmann went. That's where Manglia went. And who else knows who went there? Manglia takes off and goes there. And there's always that conversation. There's a switch now, whether or not People that they thought didn't escape. Now they think, well, maybe they did get away.
Sure.
So no, that's where they went.
Well, you didn't let me get my point out.
All right, go ahead.
They would not let Evita run for office because she wasn't legitimate. If we had that law in this country, you never would have had a Barack Obama. Think about that one.
Well, again.
Well,
also, who Hamilton was, although he wasn't president. I mean, I've never.
Well, I think there's some wisdom in the Argentines. Well, let me hit you with one other thing that you were talking about, Bobby Kennedy.
Yes.
You know the old adage that an apple never falls far from a tree.
Agreed.
But in his case, the difference between him and his father, that's the end of that that saying. I mean, he is exactly the opposite of his father.
I disagree.
The guy actually makes how could you?
I disagree.
How could you possibly?
They were
in what way?
There's a word that begins with P, and they both are one of them. And Bobby Kennedy's a bad guy. Bobby Kennedy is not a good human being. And
senior.
Pardon me?
You're talking about the elder.
Yeah.
No, he was the worst politician that ever lived.
Having said that, I believe this, and I don't have anything that rested on only than an observation. His favorite uncle was murdered. 5 years later, 6 years later, his dad gets murdered. I think, in my personal belief, same group, same people killed both of them, and
CIA,
and the crime people and everything that goes with it. But then he keeps going. Then he gets married and doesn't work out, so he buys a papal disposition. He gets himself off the hook. She hangs herself. I mean, this guy's been through, and he's loaded. I mean, he's got a Jones on him, and he wants in. And
one more thing.
All right.
You were complaining about spending $50 to fill the tank on your Harley.
$20,
right? Okay. Well, guess what? If Harris had won the election, you'd be paying $20 to
30.
You'd be paying no. You'd be paying $20 to fill the tank on your chainsaw.
Take care. Bye, Jackie. Bye. We rolling? We're still good? All right. Let's go up here. There's Gunga Din.
Hey, hi.
Talking gin and beer. Yes.
Oh, boy. It's a sad day in Mudville. I mean, really.
Yes.
Twice impeached, 4 times indicted guy with 32 charges against him. I mean, and he raped. He's accused of molesting a woman.
Yep.
And supposedly there's more. And Kamala had fresh ideas. She wanted to do things. Did you know? I'm sure you noticed. What were Trump's only plans? He had no plans but just to get elected. I mean, and I'm sure he does now because he's got everybody talking to him, telling him what to say. I worry about his mental acuity too. You saw him swaying to the music. He never said anything. He didn't have anything to offer society. He swayed to the band for an hour. That was pathetic. And
there's a historical gift statement about new presidents, and it's called the first 100 days. Turn your radio off, by the way, in the background.
I don't have it on.
We're getting a feed.
Do not have it on.
So it's called the first 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
And although Donald Trump's not going to get it, but allegedly the media stays back off and doesn't. So he gets 100 days.
Uh-huh.
Before, and I had this conversation with somebody yesterday as well. See the 100 days. See what happens. I mean, and what will happen? The two foreign policy issues, Ukraine and what's taking place in Gaza and West Bank and Lebanon and everything. Those are two. And then about the border and who comes in, and then those are the things you got to watch for or look at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But,
I understand.
Ukraine, I mean, I don't think we need to. We don't have to. Joe Biden's idea is you don't abandon your people that you have alliances with. I mean, Trump. He wants to be a dictator too. I think it was anything like his first term. He likes and look at the generals. General Kelly,
sure,
that came out against him, telling him no, he's too. He doesn't take advice.
Mm-hmm.
He won't listen to people. He's just wants to be a dictator. I think it's pathetic too how he admires, the dictators in our world. Like he loves that. He loves Russia. I mean, God. Where did he's got all, I think he's so self-absorbed that he doesn't know how to delegate. He wants to be in charge of everything. And he has no empathy for people of any kind, especially, he makes fun of handicapped people. And I told you I was a special ed teacher. I mean, it's just pathetic. I think he has a guy with no morals, and I don't think much intelligence either. I'm just really, I'm sorry, but we can get through this. We can get through 4 years of Trump, and then maybe get back on, the right path.
We will see. You take care of yourself. All right. Thank you. We got a last break coming. I know. 710 KNUS Denver's Talk Station 37. Snow diminishes. Adam matures.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Yeti Rambler half-gallon jug valued at $100. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Afternoon, everybody. Final segment, 1248, 710 KNUS, and I looked out the window and it's still cold outside. Thanks for being here. Snow diminishes, 37 to high, 52 tomorrow. Open lines. It's been a really wonderful show. We go to Mike. Mike, thank you so much for waiting. You're on the air.
Well, thank you. Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Am I cleared to talk?
You're cleared.
So I've been told that I'm the last caller of the day, and so I want to make my piece interesting here. So I want to ask you a quick question. So as you know, Trump swept the battleground states, but I also saw that Democratic Senate candidates swept the battleground states, and I just wanted to know what you think might have caused that. And as you know, Trump highly endorsed Carrie Lake, and she's going to lose Arizona. She's behind by 50,000 points, and most of the remaining votes are in the Democratic counties. So I'm just wanted to get your opinion of what would have caused the difference there.
Well, I think the dislike or getting lost into Harris. I mean, Harris brought out nothing new. Trump, I do think these things. I think that it's a long train coming. And I think it's a series of issues or events or actual happenings in our country. And I put down, although maybe to most people changing the name of military installations or pulling down monuments, changing the name of mountaintops, streets, boys playing as girls, language control, education, inflation, foreign policy, all of those things. And you can, what was the great line that everybody thinks Congress is crooked, but they keep sending their own people back. Diana DeGette got reelected. I mean, and it really plays out in voter behavior. I think that Vice President Harris just nobody wanted Vice President Harris. And because the Donald Trump vote numbers pretty much stay the same. And I think it was down what they call it down balloting that sometimes I think they just skipped over her. And I have plenty of friends.
And California still has like 7 million votes to count.
Yeah.
And so that total number is going to probably change a little bit. All right. And then I have one more quick question for you. So as you know, when the sweep across the country to deport illegal immigrants starts, you're not going to be able to do that without law enforcement. And I'm just wondering, as a quick guesstimation, how many of those immigrants do you think are going to succumb to that effort?
That's, I thought about that. It's a campaign promise. And how do you go internal and find?
But what I want to know is how many of those immigrants do you think are actually going to die in the whole effort?
That's impossible to answer. I have seen some stuff on Drudge that people are beginning to themselves leave. That's you're quite, Mike. That's a superb question. I don't even know how it's going to be done. It's going to have to be done. You hate to say door to door. What else do you do?
Exactly.
But one of the things too is, remember they used to try and fine FINE, fine employers until, and it's a Republican-dominated outfit. It's called the National Chamber of Commerce. Well, the National Chamber of Commerce, by and large, a Republican outfit, they were huge on open borders. Why? Because they wanted the cheap labor. These were, when people, they do this thing, and Mike Rosen and I talk about it, party over person. I have this new thing, country over person, country over party. So Michael, I have no idea how that's going to happen, but there will be.
And the thing about it is, like I am a 7th-generation Hispanic Coloradoan.
Okay.
That means that my family was here before Colorado was a state.
Sure.
What's going to happen if one of my nephews gets pulled over and he goes through this traumatic experience because they're trying to figure out if he's an illegal or not?
Sure. I don't have
all right,
those
well,
answers.
you have a great weekend, all right?
All right, man. Thank you. All right, everybody. First of all, Adam Walker, thank you, man. Great job today. I don't know what. I mean, it's called the first 100 days, and it'll although I think it's already begun. I think there's a guy in the Oval Office who is at least borderline senile. I think that the corporates and the heads of state have already begun talking to Donald Trump. They'd be crazy not to. What are you going to talk to Joe Biden? No, I mean, you're talking to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is setting the course right now for what will happen next. The outcome and the numbers and everything are really inquisitive, but regardless, Donald Trump won. And isn't it interesting for all of you folks in Radio Land that that's a legitimate election? They no problem there. Well, there was no problem the last time either. But what will happen next, man? I'll tell you. Your guess is as good as mine, but there was a reason for this to happen. And I think it was what was taking place internally in this country and as well as in foreign policy. So like so many of us, I don't know the answers, but and I think the 100 days has already just begun. I think it began probably Wednesday afternoon. We close? All right, everybody. Next Saturday, we do it again and try and get back to some form of whatever normal is on this show. So Jeff and Billy are Monday morning. And again, thank Mike Rosen and all the guys for Tuesday night. Everybody take care of yourselves. Stay warm. See you next Saturday.